All right. What is going on, everybody? We are live. This is Rand Thor 19, the man with the million, and coming at you with a Saturday edition, a birthday edition of the Xbox 2 podcast. And with me, as usual, is the man who was all around Gamescom, playing everything, probably got a lot of info to discuss. The one and only Jez Corden of Windows Central. What's going on?
Hey, Rand, and hey, everybody in chat. We got here a little bit late because yesterday I was traveling on a train for 7 hours, and I was a bit wiped out when I got back, and got so many things to talk about. I didn't want to do a low-energy podcast where I'm like half asleep and half dead from all the traveling, so I thought, you know what? Let's ruin Rand's birthday and have a podcast on Rand's birthday instead. Did I say ruin?
Ruin.
Or will it be enhanced? Happy birthday, Rand Thor 19.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, Jez. I don't appreciate you, the rebrand to the Xbox 2 Peppa Pig podcast.
Pig podcast.
Yeah. I'm assuming you got the one and only Sean LeBrie to make that. I did. To make that like a little graphic, which I will admit, it's pretty cute. It's pretty adorbs.
Yeah.
As they say, as the kids say these days.
Adorbs. Yeah, like we can't show it on the audio, but I can link it in the podcast chat. But if you go on the official Xbox 2 podcast Twitter, you can see a Peppa Pig edition logo and branding for the channel, which I'm actually exploring slapping on a t-shirt for people to buy, limited edition styly.
Ooh.
So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I thought, I'll give Rand a birthday podcast rebrand, and got Sean LeBrie to explore what Xbox 2 would look like if it was a British kids TV show.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, everyone's dropping those happy birthdays in the chat. Lots of candles. Here are 50 candles as achievement. 50 years old.
No. We aren't 50 years old.
Wow.
I appreciate I can't keep up with all the birthday well wishes on Twitter and everywhere. I'll try to, because I like to reply to everybody, and everybody's saying happy birthday here, and it really means a lot to me. So 41 years old, Jez. 41 years young. Born 1981. So I've seen some stuff. I've lived through some stuff,
You've lived through
a child of the 80s, although I really kind of really kind of came into my own during the 90s, you know what I'm saying?
Can I ask you, Rand?
What
was life like before electricity?
Could you even call it life before electricity?
What did you do before TV was invented? I just can't imagine it, right?
Speaking of TV though, Jez, I will say my dad's like whole family, they had like him and his like eight or nine brothers and sisters had like a cottage we shared up in Wisconsin. We would go through the summer as a kid, right? And
oh wow,
it didn't have a TV, so I hated going up there. We'd go up there, and it was just like, if you weren't at somebody else's house or swimming or something, and you're in the cottage, it was like the most boring thing you could possibly imagine, because there was no TV in it at all.
Wow.
So
was it black and white?
No, there just wasn't a TV, period. There's no TV in there. And it was just...
Yeah, but TV was black and white back then, right?
Yeah, black and white. Oh, look who decided to show up to the podcast. Hargeet Chani. He says, so not Friday this time. Start right before. And you wonder why it's hard to catch your show. Because Hargeet said... I gave Hargeet some gruff the other day in party chat because I don't see him around.
Oh, no.
And he's like... he basically was like, I can't because, work and... Fridays. So I was like, well, we're doing Saturday this week, and so he finally decides to show up. So thank you, Hargeet, and thank you, Elijah, for becoming the newest member of the channel. Appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good week, Jez. It's a pretty good week, although not a good week for PlayStation. guess definitely not a good week for PlayStation, but a very interesting week for Xbox. Seems like Game Pass is the talk of the town, and you went all over Gamescom. You got to play stuff like Lies of P and Callisto Protocol and a whole bunch of other stuff. So we have a whole bunch of topics. Obviously, you guys know what we're gonna get into. So if you guys are enjoying the show, or just want to show some birthday love, make sure you hit the like button and share this out. So let everybody know that we're live. And I just want to know, so I'm kind of getting back in the groove of making videos. I've made 5 this month, which is probably more than I've made in a while. And I'm having some fun making them, especially when they're spicy. When you can really kind of chew into it. So I put out a video yesterday. Colt Eastwood made the thumbnail, and I told him, I want a Mimi thumbnail. I want one. He was like, well, what do you want? I'm like, I want Mimi. I kind of want like... And I was just like, you know what? I want Jim Ryan looking confused, right? And I want Phil Spencer laughing at him, right? And Colt Eastwood is really good at that stuff, so he found it, made it, and even put up the PlayStation logo, but it was called PayStation.
Oof.
And that was just really fun making that video.
I would not like to be Sony PR right now. I got a feeling it's not a fun time in the Sony PR space right now.
Yeah.
They're probably having meetings about it, whether they can reverse course or whether to push on ahead with it and stuff like that. But yeah, we're gonna get into that and talk about it in a bit more depth in a little while. Rand, before we do that, what have you been playing this week? You been playing anything?
Oh, yeah. I got to give a shout out to... I'm going to read a couple of these super chats, though, because there's a few of them. Achievement says, Rand, have a pizza on me. Thank you. I'll save that for later, because your boy, Randall Thor, 19, is on a diet.
Huh?
Yeah,
diet? Oh, wow.
It's
damn.
Trying to get nice and slim for the ladies in the future, you know what I'm saying?
You could buy some avocados with that $30.
Yeah, well, actually, it'll help buy like the food that I eat. But yeah, it's time to take some health seriously. I'm a big guy, and
you're getting old. You're getting a bit older.
The pandemic was I gained quite a bit of weight because I don't know if anybody else is like this, but for the pandemic, I discovered DoorDash, and let me tell you. I was DoorDashing, I don't know, 3 to 4 times a week. And
dude, same.
It was great because I would like DoorDash from places I'd never had before, and and it was just like, all right, well, I want this, and click, done. No need to like make stuff, and it's just, eventually I was just like, yeah, you know what? I probably shouldn't be doing this anymore because it's expensive and it's not good for my health. So
no.
Yeah.
That's why I started dieting, because I realized that I'd spent like $700 on McDonald's in 1 month.
Well, I don't know if I've ever spent $700 on McDonald's in 1 month though, Jez.
Dude, I'm hardcore. Well, what I was doing was I was buying for myself and the whole family as an excuse to buy for myself. And I was like, hey, do you all want McDonald's? And then really it was just for me, And I'm like, there's your burger there. And then I, scurry off upstairs. And it's Uber Eats. It's a pandemic. It's like a great excuse. Like, oh, can't cook, can't go shopping, can't get any healthy groceries. So I'll just Uber Eats some McDonald's, right? And I looked at the bill after a month and I was like, yeah, I think it's time to lose a bit of weight,
You're like, yep. Hey, Manscaped, little help, please.
Yeah.
Code XP2, by the way. Good. Although this episode of the podcast is not sponsored by Manscaped. Although the code is still available for use. I gotta say though, Jez, I've been using these Boxers 2.0s for like, I don't know, 3 weeks now, maybe a month. They are flipping fantastic. You weren't kidding with saying how good these things are. Like I don't even notice them. They're just so comfortable.
Yeah, they are awesome. I wore them at Gamescom, 2 pairs. And, Gamescom was a bit sweaty. Bit sweaty there at Gamescom.
Yeah,
But thanks to
probably a little bit
Manscaped.
smelly too. Little bit smelly, a little bit.
Yeah, maybe not me though,
Oh, okay.
because I was so paranoid about that because of the whole stereotypes about people not using enough deodorant. I pretty much got through a whole can of deodorant in like 3 days. I used that much of it, so I must have smelled lovely, delightful, in fact. But there was a lot of people there who didn't smell so great. Put it that way. And do you know why?
Why?
Because it was 120. It was like 110 Fahrenheit the whole week I was at Gamescom. It was so hot. It was hotter than LA for E3. It was awfully, disgustingly hot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's usually quite warm in Cologne anyway, but this year was like next level, and I was like, my God, this is actually worse than E3. This is worse than LA. Hundreds of miles, thousands of miles closer to the equator. It was really warm, but thank God they had air conditioning. Thank God.
So let me get through these super chats. Thank everybody for supporting the channel. All the happy birthday wishes. So we got one from Sith Lord. It says, "Happy birthday to the man with the million." Thank you very much. Andrew Courtney says, "Happy birthday, Rand. I'm ready for some hot Gamescom takeaways. Let's go. What was your favorite trailer, Rand?" It's interesting because the one that kind of sticks out with me the most wasn't even one at Jeff Keighley's show, which we'll go over. We'll talk about like the things that stood out from the Jeff Keighley show, but it was the next day, or maybe I think it was the next day when they showed a trailer for Atomic Heart. I don't know if you saw it, Jez. They showed like a combat trailer, oh my God. Like I was looking forward to Atomic Heart, because it kind of gave me like a Russian BioShock vibe. Although it doesn't seem like the game's coming out this year anymore. Shocker, another game probably delayed to 2023, but whatever. But dude, when you get a chance, check out that trailer because it's over the top, it's ridiculous, but it looks like a lot of fun. So probably the one that sticks out the most to me is that one. Yeah, I would go with Atomic Heart, and I think probably people in the chat would probably agree because I was kind of like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Hopefully it comes out soon next year. Miguel says, "Happy birthday, Rand. Thank you." Let's see. He also says, let me scroll up. I just missed that. Hopefully it's still here. There we go. Yeah. He says, "Can't believe Xbox is the home of Sonic." Yeah, I did see that. I definitely did. You heard about that, right, Jez? The home of Sonic.
Home of Sonic? No. What is that?
So in the interview that Bloomberg did with Phil, that had the internet up and up, I swear to God, Phil, when Phil speaks about stuff, his comments get so taken out of context. It's almost like it's a test for people's reading comprehension. Or what do they call those tests that you take to see if like you're insane when they like show up like a card with black like ink?
Oh, Rorschach.
A Rorschach. Because it's like he'll say something and it's clearly about whatever, and then people be like, "Oh, he's telling Xbox fans there's no exclusives ever coming." Or Phil's a hypocrite because he doesn't want any exclusives in the industry. And I'm like, did you guys actually like read and understand what he's talking about? Like, he's talking about he wants Xbox games on PlayStation. Like all these different. And I'm just like, wait a minute. Did you guys graduate from did you guys go through grammar school to understand like how to to comprehend written English? Like, I feel dumb. Like I feel myself because then I see all these comments and I'm just like, wait a minute, am I reading this wrong? Because it makes me then doubt myself that like I'm missing something. And then I go back and I read. I'm like, no, I'm not missing anything. But they did a 24-minute video, and that article was just cut up really badly. The video kind of goes in more details, but they started the video off where it was like the chick was like, "Xbox, the home of Halo, Minecraft, Sonic, and soon-to-be Call of Duty." And people were like, did Bloomberg just leak the Sega acquisition? you know, because it was kind of a weird era to include Sega as part of like home. Like I mean, you know what I mean? Because they used 3, which potentially like Call of Duty is going to be an Xbox IP, Minecraft and Halo are, and it's like home of Sonic. So yeah, people
maybe it's like a Freudian slip. Like that's the studio they're gonna go for.
Sure,
next
but but the interesting thing was it wasn't. It was something that was said, and they edited it to include Sonic. So somebody had to listen to it and then actually find Sonic footage to put it in the video. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like me and you live on YouTube talking and maybe having a slip of the tongue, because this is live, baby. Live podcast. So anything can go. Sometimes we make mistakes. But that's edited. That was an edited intro, So,
yeah,
I don't know.
That is intriguing. You know what? I think they should go for Sega.
Ooh,
next.
Well, we'll talk about that because Phil did talk about acquisitions. The Way of the Leo says, "Hey guys, I think you're both great. Baby. Happy birthday, Rand. Thank you. I was born in 1982. Rand, please learn how to do a British accent so you can tease Jez." Yeah. I mean, Jez does an amazing English, American accent, right?
I do.
I think here's my British,
no.
my British accent. You what, mate? No. You what, mate? you want to go down to the pub to get a drink, mate? In it.
Oh, the cringe.
In it.
Don't do that again. Don't do it again. Stop it.
You see that soccer match, mate? In it.
Soccer? Fuck.
Arsenal's the best.
Got the podcast demonetized.
Arsenal's the best, right? I don't know what you guys talk about.
Oh, wow. Rand's an Arsenal supporter.
I don't know.
Someone should clip that.
Ralph Wiggum's been a member for 7 months. Says, happy birthday, Rand. You guys have a great show. Thank you. Appreciate it. Georgie says, on the Halo leaks, weapons match custom browsers. I mean, there's a lot of Halo stuff that's been leaked. Don't assume everything that leaks is actually coming out, or coming out soon, or coming out at all, period. I'll just say that. It also looks like Halo Co-op's not going to make August, like their projected target that they gave in April. So I would probably look for Halo Co-op and probably Forge to come at the beginning of Season 3. I would expect them to probably announce a delay next week. I mean, clearly it's not coming this month, and they're going to have to say why. So,
yeah.
I have heard some stuff about future seasons of Halo, but I'm not going to share those because it's not, it's not what I do, but... Yeah, just because it's in the Forge, just because it's like stuff is like leaked, doesn't mean it's coming soon or coming at all. Period. Let's see what else we got here. Hustle and Motivate. Thank you, man, for being a member for 8 months or 6 months. He says, "Happy birthday, Rand. Glad to catch you all live. Thank you for being here." Lucas says, "Jez, where's the DVR update? This thing is getting worse. Congratulations, Rand. Thank you." Yeah, the DVR update. A lot of people are. Let me ask you this, Jez, because I think you were asked recently about what the backwards compatibility team has been doing, or the platform team or whatever, like Jason Ronald's team, right? That did all that stuff. And Jason Ronald's been on Iron Lord's podcast earlier in the year talking about how like the DVR was a priority. Seems like the DVR is getting worse. A lot of people are like, hey, it's great that you added the share button, but it kind of sucks to actually share content to social media. And I think you mentioned that a lot of the BC team had moved on to the cloud stuff, right? Like xCloud, and working on that.
Yeah, that's pretty much where the bulk of the resources are right now.
Do you think do you think fixing the DVR update is a priority right now? Do you think it's something they'll fix, or is it something that Xbox fans are just going to have to fucking grin and bear it, unfortunately? What's your take on that?
Man, they've got to fix it because it is broken. It is getting worse. Like half the clips I record, the audio's out of sync. It is like literally broken. It's not even like it's a case of, oh, it's just a bit rough, and it's not even like a case of there are some things I would like to have. It is literally broken now. Like the audio doesn't sync with the video that you capture. So like, one would hope that they are working to fix it, but I have no idea what they're doing with it right now. All I know is that a lot of the dev work and a lot of the resources are being thrown at sort of like xCloud. You know, when it comes to like, there have been some like cool new features added to the Xbox dashboard over time, like, but they've mostly been like quality of life things and like smaller changes, like icons and stuff being moved around and stuff like that. We haven't seen anywhere near like the massive feature updates that we used to get back in the day, where like it felt, for a time, it felt like the dashboard got a new layout like every 6 months.
It certainly felt like it during the Xbox One generation. They had a new dashboard like every year almost.
Yeah, they changed it constantly, and like I'm quite happy with the dashboard overall. Like I agree with some people that like the tiles could be smaller, show more of your background, and like it'd be nice if you could, there's transparency effects and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of things they could do to refine it design wise, but I'm quite happy with where it is structurally. But man, the DVR is still so bad, and that was one of the main things people complained about in the big Windows Central Xbox feedback survey from the start of the year, and they haven't done anything with it. And I think that's just because all the dev resources are piling up on xCloud, because ultimately xCloud is what's going to grow the business. Nobody's going to buy an Xbox for the game DVR. Nobody, you know. And I think part of the reason why Microsoft wanted to get rid of clip sharing was so like people would just capture their raw clips and then send it over to an external program for editing and stuff like that. Oh my god, you just got a very big super chat, Rand.
Well, I think that's the biggest super chat I've seen. Thank you, Hargeets, for the $400 super chat. Happy birthday!
Oh my god,
I really appreciate that. Like, geez, you're off the hook for not showing up to the podcast on Fridays for a while, buddy. Like, Jesus.
Wow,
that is
the highest donation ever.
That's
crazy.
By a mile. Thank you. That means a lot, man.
That's awesome.
I'd follow you on Twitter, but he doesn't do Twitter. Hargeet's kind of just like
Hargeet's smart.
Yeah, Hargeet's smart for not doing social media.
He's a smart guy. That's amazing. Happy birthday, dude.
Thank you.
But yeah, where were they? We're talking about
the DVR. The thing is, the DVR was in poor shape last generation, right? It was bad last gen. They had the Upload Studio, which they completely got rid of. Like, it was just bad then, and people thought it would get better because the Series X is a console with more resources, like a better CPU, all this stuff. You would think that, like, recording DVR footage would be better or easier, right? Less strain on the system or what have you. And it's like, no, it's got the same problems, and it really shouldn't. So I don't know, maybe it's the way they implemented it, especially when you compare it to how PlayStation's capture and sharing options are, which are impeccable. Xboxes are extremely lacking, and it sucks when you hear somebody say, and I'm not really blaming Jason Ronald for this, being like, it's a priority, we're gonna look into it, and like earlier in the year, and you know, we're a couple months away from the end of the year, and nothing's been done, and it seems like it's getting worse. And it's like your big new feature on the controller was the option to like share stuff, but like sharing is like awful. So it's like, what are you doing? You know?
Yeah, I'll tell you, man. Like, I've actually thought of writing an editorial recently that was kind of like, with all the focus being on xCloud, the Xbox platform itself is suffering. You know, because it is suffering. Like, we see like the DVR not working, and other aspects of the Xbox experience aren't as good as they could be. You know, with like achievements is another issue that a lot of us keep talking about, and it's another thing that people, you know, offered feedback on in their Windows Central Xbox feedback survey, which I'm going to do every year, by the way. That's going to be like our new annual thing around December, January. We'll do a big Xbox feedback survey, so you guys can help make your voices heard. And but I thought against doing an editorial on it, Rand, because I get it at the end of the day. Like, nobody's buying a console for game DVR. Nobody. But Xbox cloud gaming grows the platform. It makes more users come to Xbox, which helps us get more games. Like, developers won't skip Xbox as much. If there's more players there, developers will make more money. they'll make better games, and Xbox will have more clout, and we won't see these weird exclusivity deals like we'd see with Hogwarts Legacy. I don't know if you saw this round, but Hogwarts as a PlayStation exclusive.
Well, I mean,
quest.
did you not read the topics? You see, this is such a professional podcast. I came in here, I set it all up, I got the topics. Jez showed up literally 2 minutes before we're going live, and normally we have to fiddle around with Jez's audio settings for 10 minutes every single episode, and I'm like, you're cutting it close, and Jez is always on me. He's like, we got to be more professional. We got to do this and do that, and Jez is showing up with a minute before and not even looking at the topics. So yeah, of course I know, Jez. It's a topic to talk about later. Yes.
Yeah, but I thought I'd segue into it because there's not that much to say.
Well, I'm gonna want to
No.
get through people's comments here before we get into it because there's
If we do
quite
that,
a few.
it's going to be a 4 hour long podcast.
Well, I mean, people seem to like that, So thank you everybody for being here. Everybody listening later on iTunes and Spotify and all those great places. Jacqueline says, "Happy birthday, Rand." So apparently is the of Sonic. Come on, Jacqueline, learn how to make sentences, buddy. Learn how to make sentences. What is your guys' take on Phil's interview? Well, that's a topic we'll definitely be talking about in a little bit. Soma King says, "Happy birthday. Treat yourself to some low-fat mayo." Ugh, no mayo. FaZe Dank Dodge says, "Any details on Project Shaolin?" That's the Project Shaolin, I believe, is the Wu-Tang game, but is there any more?
Yes.
Any more?
I haven't heard anything for a while. It was a smaller game, and I think, to be honest, I leaked it far too early. It was like, I think like the contracts, the ink on the contract signing was basically still wet when that got leaked. So I wouldn't expect to hear anything from that from a while. But as far as I know, it's still coming, but sometimes games get cancelled and we never ever hear about them. But I don't think this is a game that'll get cancelled. It's just been made by a comparatively smaller team, and it just sounds like it's going to be a cool small game.
And sometimes when you leak stuff, internal investigations begin. All right.
Yes, they do, Rand.
Internal investigations looking into Jez's leaks.
Yes, they do.
How does Jez know these things? Who told Jez? Must investigate.
It must have been that Rand telling me everything.
Even though I was the one telling you not to leak it, but whatever. This is interesting here. Blue Moon says started watching The Sandman on your recommendation. Love it. That 24/7 episode was proper dark. Indeed it was, Blue Moon. Hopefully get to season 2 because I just saw Netflix canceled Resident Evil after season 1. I'm sorry, Gopher. Gopher liked that show a lot. He's heartbroken that it was canceled. And Gopher was also at Gamescom all week. I don't know if you ran into him. He was running the booth for Myth Force.
I did not.
He had a lot of fun.
I did
He was a
not.
little tired. But I'm sorry, Gopher, and I swear to God, Netflix, you better not cancel Sandman. I want to see the rest of the series adapted. So, Chiefman says, Jez, have you ever had a steak, egg, and cheese bagel from McDonald's? Best thing on the menu. Have you had that, Jez?
I have not. But that does sound quite nice. Sounds intriguing.
Okay, let me...
I'm a fan of McDonald's.
You are a fan of McDonald's? I like their breakfast stuff. I do like their, sausage egg McMuffin. Let's see. Nick B says, crazy Microsoft Gaming will soon be home to 5 publishers: Activision, Bethesda, Blizzard King, and Xbox Game Studios, and Phil leads it all. Insane. Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility. I mean, hell, it's a lot of responsibility for Matt Booty to run 15 studios. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a change from 2007 when Xbox had 5 studios and relied mostly on third-party deals or second-party deals for, which is one of the reasons why the Xbox One gen was so bad for them, because a lot of their deals kind of bit them in the ass. Insomniac makes a great Sunset Overdrive, but then they go make Spider-Man for PlayStation. Rise, I thought, was good. I thought it was destroyed by the media too hard. I don't think that game's a 60 Metacritic. But then they couldn't come to terms on a sequel. So Rise is, at least... Well, Rise 2 might come back, but, we didn't get a sequel. Quantum Break didn't get a sequel to that because it probably didn't sell well enough. And I think Remedy and Microsoft's relationship sort of was strained at the time. Crackdown 3 came out and sputtered and died. and that's probably the end of that franchise, right? And like that whole thing, remember, because they were having Dave Jones do the cloud destruction stuff, and then when the cloud destruction stuff actually came out, well, no, because it was David Jones and his company, and then his company was acquired by Epic, and then I think Xbox had to do the cloud destruction stuff themselves, and when it came out, it was just bad. It was a bad generation because they were making bad decisions, and you were relying too much on third party to make your games. And, well, we all know where it ended up. So, now you don't really have that problem. So, hopefully it goes way, way better. And it should, because Xbox has a lot of games next year. Unfortunately, this year is a wash. I mean, there's no mincing words. This is a bad year for Xbox. Probably their worst year first party-wise. Although Pentiment...
I don't think it's that bad.
will... I mean, if you're looking for first party, there's... What is there? One game? Pentiment? As Dust Falls. Grounded's been out for 2 years. I ain't including that.
Okay, I haven't played it for 2 years.
It doesn't matter. It's been out for 2 years.
What? Nah, it's 1.0. It doesn't count.
No.
It'll get reviewed this year, and it's
already been reviewed. Go check it out. It's got like a 60 Metacritic.
Nah, those are fake reviews, man.
Yeah.
Doesn't count till it's 1.0, man.
Dio Game asks, happy birthday, Rand. Thank you. Jez, did Sony money hat Wumpa League?
Ooh, that's a very, very spicy question. I'm got to be careful now.
You should be careful, because I remember what you told me about this. I could probably answer this question, although I don't know, but I can answer it.
I'll answer it.
Okay.
I think there is a small, maybe not insignificant chance that Sony has money-hatted Wumpa League. Because as far as I know, a lot of, if not all of the early testing was done on PlayStation and PC. So could it be a timed exclusive for PlayStation? It's possible. I don't know for sure. I don't have any evidence to back that up. That's purely going on the basis of where they were testing it, at least at the start of the year, around then. But I haven't heard anything about that game for quite a while. But, take that, with a pinch of salt, or a large wheelbarrow.
So basically, the possibility exists. It could be like Crash Bandicoot. Remember when Crash Bandicoot came out a few years ago? It was timed exclusive for PlayStation for a year. And then it came everywhere else. There might be a chance this might be similar.
Oh, yeah. Some people are asking what Wumpa League is. Wumpa League is... It's almost like a nickname.
Wumpa League was the game that was the Crash game you leaked last week. Project Lava, right?
Yeah, Project Lava is a Crash Bandicoot multiplayer brawler that's made by Toys for Bob, right? Made by Toys for Bob. Project Lava. It's sort of like it's really hard to compare to anything else because it's quite unique. It's like a 3D platform brawler, objective based. Kind of the only game that I can think to vaguely, slightly compare it to is Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare, a sort of arena-based. It's really hard to describe because it's not like anything else out there. It's all Crash Bandicoot-y, and it might be timed exclusive for PlayStation, but don't know for sure. Take it with a grain of salt and wait and see, because the game's not even announced yet.
Yeah.
We don't even know for sure if it hasn't been cancelled in the last 6, 7, 8, 9 months, or however long it's been. It's hard to get information on that right now, but if it is coming, we should hear about it fairly soon, because it's
maybe
what I saw of it looked pretty far along, so I don't know, but it's hard to tell from it.
Sony does rumored have a showcase coming up in September, supposedly.
Ooh, showcase.
So you never know.
Sony's
done a showcase in September the last 2 years. So
Sony.
Yeah, J Primo, member for 26 months, says, happy birthday, Rand. I'll drink more than a few for you. Thank you. You drink for me because I don't drink. I have a Propel watermelon right here, but I definitely do not drink. Space Dovakin, member for 17 months, says, happy birthday, Rand. Thank you. Is Jez going to tell you some new game code names for your birthday? Love you guys. Best podcast. I don't know. Have you discovered any new game code names? I mean, you did tweet your picture of the lock you put the code names in, right?
I did. Have I drank enough to leak another
Oh,
code name? I don't think so.
No,
I've run out now. Finished off the bottle, so this is as drunk as I'm getting this week.
Maybe.
But nothing.
Okay, maybe later. Flame, he says, Jez, when you go to Gamescom next, ask Jeff why he doesn't tan for me. Also, Rand Senpai, happy birthday. Ooh, make sure to enjoy some Peppa Pig today. Thank you. The Best Spot Kid Smooth. What's going on, man? He says, happy birthday, Rand. Thank you. He said, do you or Jez know about ZeniMax, Activision, NT, and Obsidian before they happened? Me and Jez knew about ZeniMax. Like, what was it? Like 9 hours before it happened, we were told about it?
Yeah, something like that. Found out in the middle of the night, and then I called up Rand.
Activision.
We were freaking out.
Yeah. Smooth. What happened was Jez DMs me at like midnight, I want to say, or like 11 p.m. And he's like, get on Discord. And usually when Jez says get on Discord, it's something good. So I'm like, all right. So I get on there and he's like, it's all going to change tomorrow. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, Xbox is acquiring. And I'm like, Bethesda. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I didn't believe it. I was like, what? I love the thing is, it's like I
knew you'd take it. I knew you'd take it as a troll at first.
Well, yeah,
I knew it.
Yeah, because like Bethesda is one of my favorite. I love it. I love Arcane. You know, I really love Elder Scrolls. I love Machine Games. So I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. I was like, this is huge, right? So yeah. and then we were sitting there, and I remember like we were going through, like people were tweeting, and me and Jess were like, they don't even know that the industry has just changed. Like, and Microsoft was opening up.
They don't even know.
They don't even know yet. And Microsoft was opening up pre-orders the next day, like that day, if you remember. It was like we announced this, and pre-orders for Series X are coming out. So yeah, ZeniMax we knew about. Activision was a complete shocker. I was sleeping, and Lord Cognito like called me a couple times to wake me up. I didn't believe him. I had to check Twitter to make sure. I had to go to Xbox. I didn't believe it because Activision, Ninja Theory. I
still don't believe it.
Ninja Theory, no. Obsidian, yes. I think me and you knew the day before the Obsidian thing.
I can't remember that.
Well, because I remember you telling me that they had acquired In Exile, like the day, like 2 days before XO19 happened. No, XO18, right? You were like,
I honestly can't remember.
And then like the next day you're like, no, fuck, they pulled it off. They got Obsidian. So yeah, I had heard.
I honestly can't remember.
I remember all this stuff. I remember all this stuff.
How long ago is this now?
20. It would have been XO 2018 when they announced they acquired In Exile and Obsidian. Yeah.
How did I find that out?
I don't know. I don't remember. But I remember that Cloberl.
I don't remember that.
Cloberl had found the letter of intent from Obsidian because Cloberl had sneaky access to Xbox backend servers back in the day, if you remember.
Sneaky boy.
Yeah, sneaky Cloberl. Sneaky Cloberl. So yeah. AB says, buy gum with this. Low calories, don't swallow it. I will check out some gum. Face says, happy birthday, Rand. This gen PlayStation is reminding me of the PS3 era when Sony was having a lot of bad press and backlash. Hopefully their games will be their saving grace in the end, just like the PS3 era. Yeah, I mean, they got some great games, but you see a lot of the talk surrounding PlayStation right now is, greedy.
Negative.
Greedy, and is the return of arrogant Sony. It's like you go and brag about how great your profits are and how your last fiscal year was your best year of all time, but then like, oh guys, we have to raise prices. We're sorry, but not everywhere because we're not going to raise prices in the U.S. Sorry. Like it's just, it's just I don't know.
It's pretty bad. We're going to talk about it.
Hey, we'll talk about that. Supernova says, hello, everyone. Happy birthday, Rand. Will XO 2022 come back? I mean, like a better question would probably be, will XO come back? Because I think that is 100% certainty that XO will come back. The question is, will it come back
Ooh.
this year? What do you think, Jez? Do you think...
Is this one of your leaks?
No, I don't know.
That aren't
I don't know.
leaks.
I don't know. I'm just saying, I think XO will come back 100%. I'm just don't know if it'll come back this year.
Yeah, they'll do XO again. They're like they like it, right? I think, you know, it's one of them. It's one of the pet projects that Xbox execs like, and you know, it's a chance to hang out with fans and get out of the bubble a little bit and talk to, you know, get direct feedback and all that kind of stuff. So they do like doing those kind of events, and they will come back. Will it come back this year? I have no idea. I have no information for sure. I want to believe the answer is yes, because of how well Gamescom went, to be honest. Because I was told at Gamescom that for Microsoft, Gamescom was very last minute. Like, they weren't sure if they were going to do it. They weren't sure if, like, it was a good idea, if it was going to be a nightmare or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, they did eventually decide to do it. And for my money, they've had a pretty damn great Gamescom this year. Not just because of their stuff, but, you know, Sony handed them a pretty epic marketing win this week too, by default, which also, it sort of shone an extra spotlight on what they're doing at Gamescom, which is, you know, Lies of P hitting Game Pass, one of the major things. A lot of stuff in a lot of different shows. Games announced on IGN and
I mean, how they announced
the Future Game Show.
They announced like 7 new day one Game Pass games on IGN from the Humble Bundle, like that. You know, just like you wouldn't even know about that. Like, especially when you look at this Gamescom. Like, I checked out some of the stream. It was really long, but then you compare it to last year's Gamescom, where it was like a show, but it was kind of just they didn't have anything. It was like, I felt like this year's was a little bit better, even though it was like the stream was really long. Because I felt like they had more trailers to showcase. Like I don't know if anybody saw, like, they had the trailer and for the last call of Benedict Fox, which is a Metroidvania, last case of Benedict Fox. That looks incredible. Like, I'm so excited for that game when it comes next year. Lies of P seemed to be like Gamescom game of the show, so people are, yes, Game Pass. It definitely seems like they're going after the Bloodborne audience, and it's also the most anticipated PS5 game. It won that award, which was I don't know why it needs awards, but yeah, man, like, Gamescom definitely was I felt a lot better than the next year. So in regards to XO, I think they're gonna have to, because they got so many games coming, Game Pass and all this stuff. Like, the era of Xbox doing one show is over. They can't do that anymore, because, I mean, just look at what they have coming before E3 next year, right? If everything goes to plan, because we don't know, but they got Starfield, they got Redfall, they have Diablo 4. Hopefully the deal's done before then, and it'll be theirs, and they can put it in Game Pass. You got Minecraft Legends. You have Aura History Untold and all these other Game Pass games. It would behoove Xbox to have some sort of other show before these games. Forza Motorsport. I totally forgot about Forza Motorsport. Have another show before these games all launch, or have individual videos or something for these. Like, you can't just be like, all right, here's all the stuff this year in June, and then you have all these games coming before next E3, and just not have something else to talk. Like, they need to have something else. And I think they will, whether or not it's XO this year, which hopefully it is, but definitely, something, early next year, leading up to, the big thing in like June or whatever. But yeah, so Highlander says, happy birthday to a great Xbox content creator. Thank you. That means a lot. Tyson says, Jez, can you ask about a feature to ping games you don't want to be quick resumed? Because it stuffs up multiplayer games all the time. Happy birthday, Rand. Thank you. You think that's something possible? Really like, pin games that you don't want to be quick resumed? That's interesting.
That's you can kind of do that if you pin 3 games. If you force pin a bunch of games for quick resume, that would prevent any other games from hitting quick resume, because I think you can have 3 games in quick resume at any one time. So if you fill that up with some other random games, you can kind of do it as a workaround. But I see what you're saying. Like, have an option to block a game from hitting quick resume. I think that's a really good suggestion, and I will submit that to Jason Ronald in DM for you. That's a good idea. But yeah.
Let me see here. What else we got? Still got a few to hear. Thank you guys for all the support and all the birthday wishes. It really means a lot. Supernova says, after the bad media messaging surrounding the PlayStation 5 brand, will the Yakuza act with Jimbo? Oh man, the Yakuza acting with Jimbo. Jim Ryan, man. Jim Dance Moves Line Ryan. Right? Like Jim Dance Moves Ryan, Jim Line Ryan, his name. I think Colt made that picture where it was like Don Matrick morphing into Jim Ryan. And it definitely seems ever so appropriate, doesn't
that
it?
was great.
It's like,
it
really is. Like Jim Ryan, like you could look at the previous PlayStation leadership with Jack Tretton, Andrew House, then eventually like Sean Layden and those guys, and you got the sense that those guys actually cared about like game. Like when you look at Phil, one of the things like that Phil like exudes is his love of the industry because he loves games, right? And it comes across in the way he talks, and you can clearly see that like his gamer, he's playing all the time. He's like first and foremost a fan of the industry and of gaming. And you get that sense, with some of the earlier PlayStation leadership. But then you look at Jim Dance Moves Ryan, and I don't get that from him. I don't think Jim Ryan's ever picked up a video game controller in his life. I think Jim Ryan is just a cold numbers businessman. And that's all he is. And it's just... That's at least the vibe I get from him. Is like...
He's an accountant.
Yeah, it's just like he's just a businessman. He's a cold-hearted businessman. Hey, make them pay more because they will pay more because it's the premium experience because these gamers want it, right? Like everyone is going to pay more for the PlayStation, right? Even like I don't know, like does anybody else in the chat feel the same way? Like I feel like Jim Ryan doesn't even know. Like if you gave him a controller, he'd probably hold it upside down or something. He's probably somebody in his living room that has the PlayStation 5 like.
Looks
like
appearances.
No, he has the PlayStation 5 like upside down because he doesn't know how it's supposed to go. You know what I mean? You ever see those pictures of people with the PlayStation upside down?
Yeah. Or he's got it like on the mantelpiece or something, not actually connected to the TV. Like those ads where like those old school ads where it shows people playing like Nintendo, Super Nintendo or something, and it's not even plugged in, something like that. Yeah. I don't know. The guy's like, I think he's making a big mistake. I mean, should we just get into this topic now while we're here? Or do you need to get to some more super chats?
There's still more. They're coming in. I gotta get to it. Hold that thought. Jacqueline says it was text to speech. You big meanie. Anyways, what countries should Xbox expand into? My vote is for Korea and Poland. I mean, if you want to
everywhere,
they got to go everywhere. They're talking about 3 billion gamers. You got to go where the gamers are. So they got to go everywhere.
India.
Yeah, India,
South Asia, Southeast Asia, Southwest Asia, Middle East, South America. They've got to expand everywhere. They've just got to expand everywhere. And they are trying, but it's, a slog. It's not an easy process.
Yeah.
But I think they'll get there. They've got to have the content.
Dark CI says, happy birthday, Rand. Many more to come. Thank you. CJ says, hey, Rand, missed my pre-show super chat. Sorry, bro. It didn't show up. If you at me or Jez, we should be able to see it and read it. Because it was gone, but by the time I scrolled up. Negative Latency says, Randall, for your birthday, I was going to give you my chlamydia medication, but frankly, I need it more. Here's a couple bucks and said, buy yourself some FIFA packs. Jeez. Chlamydia and FIFA in the same paragraph? Yikes.
That should go on like that subreddit, completely new sentences or whatever. It's the first time that sentence has ever been written in the history of space and time. Congratulations.
Hargeet Chan, oh man, you didn't have to super chat Hargeet. He says PlayStation did kind of raise prices in the US as the Horizon PS5 bundle is the more available PS5 to buy. So essentially a $50 price bump, but at least you get a game with it. Yeah, that's true. I think
That is true. Yeah.
I think you can get the PS5 separate, but a lot of it is bundled, and they can kind of get away. They can kind of get away with it because it's like it does come with the game, but what are you gonna do, right? $550. Let's see here. Killer Ace says, "What do you guys think about the Saints Row reboot? The bugs and ugly graphics are a big disappointment for me. I miss the dirty jokes, and humor. I mean, Jim Robs. I hope they remake Saints Row 2 one day. We'll talk about that in a minute." Dead Planet says, "Xbox almost could have said, 'Hey gamers, we're the cheaper console. Plus, here's Starfield and Redfall.' Would have driven the knife even deeper into Sony." Yeah, they could have given a more flowery response when talking about that. They could have actually probably won for the kill. Like in my mind, they could have been like, we know that inflation is affecting us all, but here at Xbox, we just want to let our fans know that we're not going to pass the cost of that on to you guys. So we are keeping the price. Like they could have gone for a more verbal smackdown of PlayStation, but they went for a more robotic approach where it's like, we have no plans to increase prices.
Yeah. I think like part of that might be because they're nervous about the global economic situation. What if it gets worse, And they have left themselves some wiggle room to change course if indeed they really need to. But at least for the short term, I think they're going to stay on this course. But I think like if they went all in for the kill and things do get worse and we hit like 30% inflation or something, touch wood. God, I don't want to be the reason that happens and jinx that shit. But I touched wood, so it's okay. I think they're leaving themselves open if things do get worse from an inflationary perspective. But like the current forecast suggests it'll start coming down next year, and they can weather this storm particularly. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Unfortunately, no one has a crystal ball.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought we go from the pandemic straight into like a devastating war that has upended the entire global energy market,
That is true. Goldshell has an interesting question. Any word on the Age of Empires 4 coming to Xbox? People thought it would be announced at Gamescom, and it wasn't.
Yeah, I have no information on that right now. Maybe I'll do some digging. I know it's in development, but I haven't heard about it for quite a while. For a couple of months now, really. I suppose just have to wait and see. I honestly don't know. I presume it's on the way. Like, why wouldn't it be? They made Age of Empires 4. They made the interface already more sort of more friendly for controllers. Like there's a lot of menus that like expand and stuff like that. It's hard to explain without like having the UI in front of me. But it already felt like it could lend itself a little bit better to controllers. But it might just be another victim of the pandemic, slow development, stuff like that. Because don't forget, Age of Empires is also a live service. So a lot of that development is probably going towards actually making new content, and they did announce some new content at Gamescom, a couple of new factions, I think. So I believe it's coming, but just don't know when.
Yeah. And Icehaller says, as long as they keep making those high quality games, I'm good so far. But if they stop that, ... And Bookster says, any Coalition rumors or info, other than Coalition is now working on a Peppa Pig game, as Jez announced on Twitter yesterday or the day before.
Nothing at the moment. The Coalition are locked down, baby. I can't get a shred of information out of them. The only thing I know is that they had 2 projects as of last summer. So, God knows what they're doing.
Well, I think
I hope one of them is Gears Tactics.
Mr. Grubby Grub said that one of them was like a new, smaller, like a small game, but a new IP that they were using to get used to Unreal Engine 5, and then Gears 6.
Right.
So, Hopefully we learn more about those soon, because Coalition, they're a workhorse, man. They're a great studio. Yeah. Let's
Before we move on,
yeah.
there's one from CJAD93 said we missed the super chat.
Okay.
It's not a question. It's just, hey guys, finally realized why Rand doesn't use cam. If he did, everyone would see how much he rolls his eyes at Jez's terrible takes. Happy birthday, Rand.
That is true. There have been times here where I definitely have rolled my eyes at some of the things Jez have said. I definitely. I mean, to be fair, the reason I don't really use camera is because like I just I don't know. I'm not really comfortable doing it. So going on this diet, hopefully, I can feel better about myself, and then be like, all right, like now's the time to do it.
It worked for me.
But
It worked for me.
And plus, like, we do a long show, and quite honest with you, like, 3 hours, like, I don't necessarily want to know if I want to be on camera for 3 hours, but we'll definitely, like I said, 100,000 subscribers, camera, whether or not I get, I can kind of get my weight down to something that I'd be like, oh, well, like, I feel really good about myself. Let's go on camera, and, that'll happen, but yeah. It'll happen at some point, most likely. Just it's a matter of when. Ladae says, I saw Xbox people on Twitter urging others to vote Republican since they want to go after FTC chair Lena Khan. Fanboys on both sides went crazy this week. I didn't see any of that, but that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, that is ridiculous.
So,
I mean, Britain has the most conservative government we've had in decades. And even they want to give this whole thing a closer examination. So I don't think necessarily swapping out the government is necessarily going to affect how much scrutiny this deal will get, because it's a lot of damn money. It's a lot of money, and it's hundreds of thousands of employees. So there's got to be like some kind of a scrutiny over it. I still think it'll get through. I think it's fair to say that whoever's in charge would be probably not doing their duty if they didn't actually examine what was going on, right or left, whatever political flavor you prefer. I mean, you get screwed either way, right? But anyway, should we get into some topics before the next wave?
Yeah, let's get into some topics. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you hit the like button. Saints Row, Jez. You asked me what I was playing earlier. We had a super chat about it. Saints Row. I played a little bit of Saints Row. I have said before in this podcast, I really enjoy Saints Row. Saints Row 1, Saints Row 2 I thought was excellent. I love 3. 4 was like the best like Crackdown game ever made. Like they outdid Crackdown in Saints Row 4. And it was just like, where do you take the franchise after, that? And I started playing this, and first off, I don't think it looks good. I'm playing at 1440p, high quality. I'm not saying it looks like an Xbox like 360 game, but it definitely doesn't really look next gen. Although I really appreciate 60 frames in open world games. That's why this gen so far has been pretty damn good, because everything's 60 frames, which is exactly what I wanted. But oh boy, the thing with Saints Row is it lives or dies on whether or not you find the humor funny or not. And I always sort of did. I'm telling you, I played this game for a couple hours now, and I just do not find any of the jokes laughable. And it's so like, the beginning of the game, I'm just with these characters, and it's like, are they trying to be funny? Like talking about like, oh, we need to make rent, but like go like rob people. Like the way it's said, it's just like, I don't know. Am I too old now? Like Saints Row 3 came out during the 360. Am I just kind of old man yelling at the clouds at this point, where it's just like the humor just doesn't appeal to me anymore? So it's like you have that aspect where like you're listening to the dialogue and it's just not funny. The gameplay structure is basically the same as it's always been. So, it's just like, go here, do this, go here, do that. It's basically just what Saints... And I don't have a problem with that, because that's what Saints Row is, but for right now, I could definitely understand why people were giving it, like, 60s and stuff. I haven't run into any bugs or whatever, but, Yeah, like, I don't know. For me, Saints Row was always about the humor and the over-the-topness and the ridiculousness of it. And I always found it funny. And with this one right now, it's just kind of like, yeah,
Cringe.
I haven't. I don't know if I would say cringe. It's just I'm not jiving with the humor. And that's a big part of Saints Row. So
Is it so dull that it doesn't even make you cringe? Like you don't even get any emotional response from it?
yeah, it's like you can tell he's trying to be funny, but it's not. I don't know. It's just not funny to me. Maybe it's funny to other people, and if you think it is, then more power to you. But like the main character is kind of, I don't know, he just cracks these jokes that, and I'm just like, that wasn't funny. I don't know. What am I supposed to feel about this? We'll see how the game progresses, because like I said, I do like Saints Row, so I'm gonna play through it. And we'll see how it fares. I know some people said like the beginning's way better, and then it kind of gets in the rote. And I say this is the same problem I had with Crackdown 3. Like Crackdown 3 came out, and it basically just was like there was no innovation. It was like the same game as it was in the 360 gen, and it was just eventually it just became boring. And I never felt like Saints Row was boring, because even if you felt that the gameplay structure was rote, at least the story and the humor at least would hook you, so you'd be playing that stuff for that. Now, if like the gameplay is boring and you're just constantly doing the same thing, and now the humor's not popping off you, like I could understand why people are like, I played it for a little bit and I stopped. So
yeah,
that's at least my thoughts so far. I'm a couple hours into it. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I don't think it looks good. But at least I appreciate the 60 frames though. Please, 60 frames on everything. So, are you interested in playing Saints Row at all, or?
No, dude, no, God, no. Like I didn't even like Saints Row humor back when it was supposedly good. I'm not someone who like I play Borderlands and I just don't laugh once. I just think the humor's awful.
Well,
very few games can do that humor well.
Borderlands 3 humor was bad. Like the Borderlands 2 humor I thought was great. But then again, I don't know. I'm older now, right? Like that was 360. I was younger. Maybe I'm just too old. Maybe that's the curse. I'm now too old to get with the what do they call it? Zoomer humor. I don't know. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Dude, I don't even think it's Zoomer humor. You know what I do, Rand? Sometimes, because like my best friend has a 13-year-old son, and sometimes I gauge if I'm just being old, right? And I'll link him stuff, and I'll just be like, "What do you think of this? Tell me what your first reaction is." Because I want to know from a journalistic perspective if I'm just old, or if it's like, or if a game or a trailer or something is designed to appeal to a different generation. I really want to be aware of that stuff. And half the time he's just like, no, this is lame. So it's like, oh, it's not just me. It actually is shit. So Forspoken, for example, that one Forspoken trailer with the I'm talking to a bangle, or wherever it was. So I don't know, man. I don't know. It's kind of interesting because I said that very few games have actually made me laugh really, because British people have a high bar for comedy, I think, because comedy is like, what you grow up with as a kid in Britain, or at least back in the 90s growing up, like Blackadder and Red Dwarf and all these great classic comedy shows. And I just have, I don't know, a hardwired different standard, right? That being said, I played Out in Life at Gamescom, and I couldn't stop laughing. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. And I've seen some people, like, been offended about it, because, like, there's a scene near the start of the game where you can shoot a child and kill a child. And, like, they really go for it, like South Park style almost. I thought was funny.
I enjoy
the Rick and Morty
humor, right? I really like Rick and Morty.
Yes.
I
So
mean, the
do I.
gun is basically Morty. So like when
It
I
is a
was
Morty gun.
so
I
here's
call
the
it
thing
Morty
though.
gun.
The Gamescom trailer that showed off of Jeff did that game a disservice because that was the most boring, basic boss fight they could possibly do. Granted, it was probably the first one, but still, like, it didn't show off anything. Like, I was imagining playing it, I'm like, oh, is that it? But then, like Saints Row, at least you have the humor. Like, remember the South Park games that they made, Ubisoft made? They weren't really like. I played them because I love South Park and South Park's hilarious. So I'm playing that game not because the gameplay is fantastic, because it certainly wasn't. It was just your typical rote RPG, but because it's freaking hilarious, right? So something by the creator of Rick and Morty, you're playing it because you want to be entertained. So I'm listening to the gun and the knife and like the clip of him killing the kid, and IGN put out a 25-minute walkthrough, which looks a lot better than whatever boss fight they did. So
yes,
it's interesting.
It felt a lot better to play. I played that whole section that IGN showed off, and man, I'm calling out Xbox PR for this because they did not tell me I could capture that footage. So like, I got there and they were like, "Do you have an SD card?" I'm like, "No, I didn't know you could capture that footage." So unfortunately, I didn't get to record my gameplay, but I did play that whole section that IGN showed off, the 25 minutes, and it plays a lot better than it looks. Like seriously, like that boss fight looked quite sort of formulaic, but it's sort of like it's like phase based, you know. It feels a lot better to play than it does to watch because all you've got at that point in the game is a handgun, basically, you know, and a knife, which doesn't do a whole lot of damage to the boss. So it's kind of like it doesn't show that well in the trailer, but going through the levels and the maps, it was like it felt like an old school shooter, like a 90s shooter, but in a good way. It was like, oh man, I missed this, you know, kind of doomy almost. Because there's even like, you know, like melee executions with the knifey, shanking people really, really brutally in the throat, which is absolutely hilarious, and it doesn't get old. And it's kind of like, I'm surprised that this is like a small indie game because they told me a typical playthrough will run about 10 hours ish, you know, which is I think is quite beefy for a single player shooter, especially from a smaller team. And yeah, the humor was great, and it's rare that you really get a game that can deliver humor at the same time as being a game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes, like the pacing of a game will interfere with the ability to deliver jokes and the timing of a joke and that kind of thing. I think they've done a really good job in this. You know, and someone in chat just said, Dr. Dingle that said it might be a little bit too chatty for me. I did kind of feel that way. I was thinking, like, in the demo, man, the Morty gun might get a bit annoying in a while because, like, he does start to repeat some of the same dialogue after a bit. Like, if you try and shoot an NPC, for example, he'll kind of like say, "Oh no, we shouldn't kill that guy. What are you doing?" You know, in the sort of Morty voice, and he does like these barks when you kill. They call them, you know, barks and stuff when NPCs are talking, reacting to, you know, things that happen in the game. And he sort of like has an array of different voiceovers that happen as a result of combat, and sometimes they do repeat. I think maybe they'll adjust that or tone that down, especially if, like, you know, they read some of the previews, and some of the previews say the same thing. I'm definitely going to say that in my preview next week when I write it up. But that was the only thing the only doubt I had about the game. Other than that, it was just so much fun, so hilarious, and way more funny than Saints Row, frankly. So that's my preview of High on Life, and I suppose that's your critique of Saints Row, right?
Yeah, at least for now. Damn. Had some water go down water go down the wrong pipe. Now I got my eyes are watering. Oh my god. All right. Sorry about that.
Oh wow, Don't die on me, Rand. Not on your birthday.
You ever take like a drink or something and it goes down the wrong tube? Oh my god.
Yeah, like into your lungs or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't die on us, Rand. We need you. I can't do the Xbox 2 by myself. Yeah. The Xbox One then. The Xbox One wasn't a very great time. Rand's literally dying live on the stream right now. I think right there is a good time to cut to a commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsor.
Oh. Just talk for a little bit, Jez. Hold on. I gotta mute myself.
Poor Rand. He's still dying. Oh man. I'm gonna get this question from Killer Racing. Where are the real gangsters? Where is Ultor or Stag? How is it that Saints Row 3 Remastered looks better than this? Volition insulted the fans. Such a shame. Man, I haven't played it. I haven't played any of the Saints Rows enough to really pass serious judgment on my end. So I will defer to, you guys. What do you guys think of Saints Row? Are you happy with it? Do you think it's terrible? We can't post questions on Spotify anymore with our new system, which is really annoying. But, someone, I can't remember who said this, but someone in the chat said that a bunch of Volition's developers from Chicago actually joined Undead Labs to work on State of Decay 3. So maybe some of the core team that made the old games great aren't there anymore? I have no idea. So, yeah. Brain Jim says, do you know what ZeniMax Online is working on? I haven't got a clue. I haven't got a clue what's going on at any Bethesda studio. I've never had good sourcing on Bethesda content. They're a very, very tightly knit, very secretive studio. And I've never been able to get anything on Bethesda. So,
all right.
Yeah.
I think
oh my god.
I think we're good.
Oh my god. Poor Rand.
Yeah.
Rand's literally dying right now.
Yeah, I can feel it in the back of my throat too.
How do you manage that? That is impressive.
Hold on. I need to mute myself again.
Oh my god, Rand, drink some more water or something, man. This is the problem with live podcasting, guys. Like when one of the hosts starts dying, there's nothing we can do about it. We just have to keep the show must go on. Rand, mute yourself. God. Def Leopard says, call 911 for Rand. I'll have to edit this out. Jez, that is how you sound.
I'm muted for them, not for you.
Oh, really? Are you sure about that? Like, Rand says he's muted for you guys, but not for me. And I can hear Rand literally dying right now. So that's interesting. Breaking news. RDX Son of Fett says, breaking news, Sony acquired console exclusivity on price hikes. Lol. PS5 and is $50 more than Series X in Canada now. Wow, that is a lot of dollars. Oh, one of the big problems with this price increase stuff is that it's happening in countries that are having a lot of problems right now. They've increased the price in the UK, they've increased the price in Europe, and Europe's got this massive energy crisis right now. Gas and electric bills are looking to double in the UK in October. So, like, as we head into the holiday season, families who need to buy stuff for their kids for the holiday season, they're tighter on money than ever. And the media constantly talks about the cost of living crisis in the UK. And then Sony drops this bombshell while Nintendo and Xbox come out at the same time saying, we're not going to do that. It's not a good look. It's not a good look in the UK. And it kind of like goes back to this sort of narrative that tap dancing Jim Ryan, as Rand likes to call him, is like tone deaf. And he's only really watching the US market. He doesn't know what's going on outside the US. And I think it's like a pretty good, opportunity for Microsoft to capitalize on this. Rand, are you alive?
Yeah, I think I'm good now. I think I think I'm good. I think
You,
I feel better now. So
you think you're good now?
I think so. Damn, that was
Are you unmuted?
Yes, I'm unmuted. They can hear me.
You sound like a robot for me.
Do I really?
It might be my headset though. My headset's been really bad on the laptop lately. Can you guys hear Rand okay?
They should be able. Yeah, they should.
I'm gonna reconnect my headset one second.
Jeez, that was awful. I hate when that happens, and I've never had it happen before during a live show. Ugh, man.
Hang on a sec. I've gone. My headset's gone crazy. I just need to reconnect. One moment.
All right, let me get a super chat. Radimus, happy birthday, Rand. Not to get deep in acquisitions, but would it be a good idea for Xbox to go for smallers, beloved developers before going for the publishers? Thanks for the happy birthday wishes. I mean, I think it's just a matter of who's available. Activision was kind of like an opportunistic thing because of the stock pricing situation. And so it's just a matter of timing. You know, these talks take a while. So it's just a matter of like who wants to be acquired and what are they looking for, right? So, you know, we'll talk about that a little bit later when we get to the Phil interview thing. Iraq Matt says, "You're beautiful, Randy. Boo Bandy. Tell your self-consciousness to shut the F up and flaunt what you got on camera, boy. Here's some Canadian moolah to get yourself a camera. Happy birthday, pal." Thank you very much, man. Appreciate that. Very, very much. Man, I can feel like the back of my throat. Like we're all. Oh. I know you guys couldn't hear it, but when I was muted, I was like coughing up a storm. Jez heard it. RDX on a Fett. Oh yeah, Jez already read this. I think you had another one though. Oh no, you had two of them. Same thing. Killer Z says, "Where are the real gangsters? Where's Ultor or Stag? How is it that Saints Row?" Oh, Jez read that one too. Okay.
God, now I've got audio problems. 1 second.
You have audio problems? Damn. Gamer by choice, member for 33 months. Says, "Happy birthday, Rand. I understand your thoughts on being a cam, and I'm trying to lose weight myself. Great show, guys. Thank you for all the support. For 33 months, that's absolutely incredible. Like, that's, what is that? It's almost 3 years. Wow. Infinite Double A says, "Happy birthday, Rand." Thank you very much. And I think that's all I see for here. So, and Jesse says, "Jez, do you like Monty Python?" I like Monty Python. I don't know if Jez does, though. Dead Planet says, "You can't convince me Rand is older than 30. Well, I'm 41, so I'm 11 years older than what you think.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I
Right.
hear you.
We have switched to a regular headset. I'm not using these Bluetooth crap anymore. My laptop just doesn't like work with Bluetooth anymore for whatever reason. But yeah, we'll not go down that route anymore. But I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. And you know, I'll edit this out of the audio version. So you live listeners are getting the behind the scenes look at how unprofessional we are right now. Well, I'm gonna get a glass of orange juice in a minute, and I'm gonna drink it so carefully. I'm gonna drink it so damn carefully. So like on the audio version, I'll edit out all of this section, and then like just after the ad break, it'll come right back in now.
I thought you already did the ad break thing. You're doing another one? Jeez.
Oh God, no, I'm not doing another one. Okay. Where are we at? Let's talk about a topic.
All right, let's talk about a topic. Let's talk about a quick one here. The White Elite 2 leak. I think you wrote about this on Windows Central. Is this happening, Jez? There was like a leak for it on Amazon, Japan. It's coming in September. Yeah,
it's happening. We you know, it's pretty clear that it's happening. We've got a leaked video of it. We've got leaked store listings for it. I have absolutely no idea when it's going to be announced, but I think
TGS?
This must
Tokyo Game Show. That's September, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it would make sense to announce the sort of because it's an Xbox Series S edition Elite, right? At the end of the day,
I mean,
if it's
white one.
Yeah, it's white and it matches the Series S.
Yes,
so
but it's still just a Series 2 though. I sort of feel like that's a little bit disappointing. Like, where's the Series 3? Where's the one with the share button that doesn't work on Xbox as a game? Where's my haptic feedback and in the handles. Where's all the new stuff?
I I don't know. There was a leaker called, I can't remember his name. Is it Existence or something like that? He leaked that there's an Elite controller in development for early in 2023, supposedly.
Mm.
In my view, if they are making white versions of the Series 2 and Sony just came out with its own Elite controller, we're going to see an Elite controller Series 3 eventually. It just sort of like, when is this going to happen? I heard there was going to be a Elite controller Lite edition coming sometime between now and the holiday season, but now I think it's this white controller. I don't think it's a new version of the Elite controller. It has to be this white controller. So I'm guessing this white Elite controller launches for the holiday season. Maybe get your pre-orders in, October or something, and then it launches November or something. Good. It's a good sort of Christmassy kind of present for the little kiddies. You get your back paddles and you get your trigger locks, makes you a little bit more pro at Call of Duty. Gives Rand an edge in PUBG, game he still plays every day.
Not anymore. Unfortunately,
Not anymore. No.
Not anymore. Maybe Warzone 2 coming soon though. So
Warzone 2. Man, I'm drinking this orange juice so carefully right now.
Be good. So yeah, the Elite seems to be real. There's pictures of it, video of it. Maybe be announced next month, Tokyo Game Show. I don't know. I sort of feel that's a little bit underwhelming, I guess is the right word for this. Underwhelming. It's just
underwhelming. You want the 3, don't you?
It's just like the black one, the original one came out in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. And then they did the Master Chief one last year for the launch of Halo. So, 3 years later, you do a white one? It just kind of... And you already kind of did a black and white one the first time. And it's just
That's true.
It's like, where's the new design and everything? So, maybe next year for that.
I kind of want them to comment on and assure us that the build quality control has been improved, because that's one complaint I get all the time. I get that complaint all the time. And something I discovered at Gamescom, a friend of mine I met at Gamescom, is paraplegic. And I found out that the Elite controller is actually being used as an accessibility controller because it has the paddles, which for some people are actually better than the Xbox adaptive controller, and having to buy all the extra switches. And, I had another friend with brittle bone disease who basically made his own controller and jerry-rigged a bunch of switches and cables to a block of wood, to make his own Elite controller. But some people don't need to go to that length, and they can just use a regular Elite controller. However, the regular Elite controller has all these construction issues, and it's quite expensive, and the warranty's not that great in some countries. That's kind of lame, right? I think for the Elite Series 3, they really need to talk about quality control on the bumpers and all this kind of stuff. Because I went through two Elite controllers of the first gen. My Elite Series 2 broke after about a year. The shoulder buttons went, just like they seem to break for everyone else. It's the shoulder buttons on the Elite Series 2, and it was the rubber grips on the Elite Series 1. I had 2 Elite controllers lose the rubber grips on the first one, and then shoulder button went on the Series 2. And I really love that damn controller because the charge dock and the battery life is just ridiculous. You could run that controller for 6 days almost with moderate usage on a single damn charge. And the dock is easily the best charge dock on the market. A lot of these Xbox controller charge docks and these batteries, they're really crappy, or they got low battery life, and they got really terrible longevity, and the batteries die after a few weeks or months or whatever. But this was they got the quality right on everything except the damn bumpers, So yeah, fix that quality control before you even bother talking about an Elite Series 3. Quality control should be the absolute number one thing they're looking at improving with the next version.
I do hear that you can get a replacement for an Elite Series 2 pretty easily if yours does break, so there is that.
I
Justin
should try him.
Justin Duel says, who's been a member for 8 months, says, happy birthday, Rand. Thank you. Just turned 41 a couple weeks ago. Love listening to you and Jez. Well, that's
Hell yeah.
we're just the old people podcast, I guess. You know, Jez, you're like what, 62, 63? Something like that?
Man, we're gonna be still doing this. We're still gonna be doing this like podcast like in 30 years. And we'll have to rebrand it to like geriatric gamers or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Octogenarian gamers.
Another small topic. Ubisoft Plus coming soon. Did you see this thing from that Twitter account that sort of kind of grabs images from the back end servers? The Ubisoft Plus was added, the logo.
Yeah, the old school Lumia account, which is this chap. I'm gonna absolutely butcher his name now, because it's Italian. Aggiornamenti Lumia, is a long time Microsoft watcher, going all the way back to the Windows Phone days. And he posts all kinds of leaks about phones, about hardware, about apps for Windows and stuff like that. And he also has solid access to the back end on the Xbox server and stuff, although that's not where he gets all of his information. But yeah, he found images and iconography pertaining to Ubisoft Plus on Game Pass. And that led to a lot of speculation that Ubisoft Plus was going to be announced in some form during the Gamescom festivities, but it didn't happen for whatever reason. We heard like a year ago, 2 years ago, that Microsoft was talking to Ubisoft about Ubisoft Plus or a wider partnership for Ubisoft on Xbox Game Pass. But these deals seem to take a long time to come to fruition. When this is gonna happen, I have no idea. Is it gonna happen? How pervasive it's gonna be? I have no idea. All I knew is that they were talking to each other about it. So, could this be something that announced at TGS? Probably not.
Seems like definitely going to probably be there for the end of the year. The question I have is it going to be tied to Game Pass in some way? Or does Sony have exclusivity on that? Because Sony right now has the Ubisoft Classics library as part of the PlayStation Extra tier. They have a whole bunch of games. And it does seem like Xbox or Game Pass has been sprinkling in some Ubisoft games here and there. You got like Rainbow Six Extraction. I believe at the end of the month they're adding Immortals Phoenix Rising, right?
Yeah.
I think For Honor's in Game Pass. Assassin's Creed Origins in there. So it definitely seems like they're adding games. Like Far Cry 5 was added, I think, last month. So to me, it's like, is Ubisoft Plus going to be like a new perk for Game Pass Ultimate along with EA Play? Or did Sony basically have an exclusivity where they got it first and Xbox just gets regular old Ubisoft Plus, a separate subscription you have to sign up for? So,
yeah, I mean, there is something that sort of feeds into this in a way. Idle slothed the Xbox Alpha ring earlier, and he added us on Twitter. And the games and apps, we were talking earlier about how the Xbox dashboard hasn't had any meaningful big changes lately. Well, the games and apps section on the Xbox Alpha Insider Skip Ahead Beta Gamma Super Duper Skip Ahead graphics pack ring, one of the rings, has got a revamped version of the Xbox games and apps library. And now there's it almost looks like a Windows Phone interface. It's got like a row of menus across the top of it where you can sort of very quickly filter by all games, owned games, Xbox Game Pass games, games with gold games, EA Play, and then your apps. So that'd be a good place to just slap in Ubisoft Plus, if you were sort of growing out the amount of different tracks that you do get in your content library as a result of the subscription. So maybe they've made this change to accommodate Ubisoft Plus,
Yeah, it's certainly possible.
Yeah, so by the end of the year, I think we'll hear something more serious about that.
Yeah. John G's been a member for 18 months, says happy birthday, Rand. Thank you. And Fried Melon says happy birthday, Rand. No joke. I thought you and Jez were in your early 30s. I'm 24.
I'm in my early 30s.
Jez is in his early 30s. I mean, do I sound younger or something, or do I look younger when people look at my picture? Am I just got
Actually, in my
that younger sounding voice or something?
I don't know. Maybe it's a lack of maturity.
Oh yeah, that is
Hang
true.
on.
And anybody
No,
watch?
that's the cell phone. I just realized as I was saying it. I just trolled myself. And I'm actually in my mid-20s. Actually,
No, you're not.
I'm actually in my early 20s. Yeah, I'm 23.
No, you're not.
Yeah. I'm 23, man.
Stop lying.
I'm what? I was born in the year 2000.
No, you weren't.
What do you mean? I'm Gen Z, no cap, bro.
How old are you for real?
I'm 35.
Okay, 35. So you got 5 more
35.
years.
5 more years until the dark times. The dark times.
The dark times.
What do I have to look forward to, Rand? As I go from 35 to 40. Tell me what I've got to look forward to.
You know when you would hurt yourself when you were younger, like you'd hurt yourself and then like you'd be fine the next day. Now when you hurt yourself, it takes a while for those things to go. And sometimes you'll go to sleep and you'll go to sleep and you'll wake up and you go to sleep, you'll wake up and your neck will just hurt, or your back will just hurt, or your knee will just hurt. You'll just get these like phantom pains out of nowhere, and you're like, "What happened?" Like,
and I'll choke to death on some water,
and that too. Your body, your body just starts kind of just falling apart, Jez. It's the beginning of the end.
Oh man, I'm still like, I still feel fairly sprightly. You know, sometimes I get the odd bit of pain here and there. You know, I sprained my ankle last year. And it still hurts every now and then. But I tell you, Rand, I don't have that many white hairs. I thought by 35 I'd be. Do you have white hairs? Is your hair white?
I started getting white hairs in my beard. Yes.
Wow. See, I don't have that yet. I have no white hairs in my beard. I have a couple of white hairs on my head though. But then that's bound to happen in this job. I don't know. 35 is when hair starts growing in your ears and nose more than your head. I have no hair in my ears. Yeah. Oh my god, actually I do. Oh my god! There's hair in my ears! Little ones. That's horrible. You know what I need?
What do you need?
I need ear hair trimmer from Manscaped with code XP2 for 20% off.
That's true. Daniel R wants to know if we played the new or old Pac-Man World games. I don't think I have, but I have played Pac-Man, like the old Pac-Man games, and like Pac-Man DX Championship Edition, but I don't think I've ever played the World games. I'm not even sure what the World games are, to be honest with you.
I got a code for that in my email, the Pac-Man thingamabob. I'm gonna drop that code in my Xbox and try it out, because you know, we all know that I do like playing literally every single game ever made for at least 5 or 10 minutes.
You know, the thing that sucked was about getting old, right? So like laying in bed, you're sleeping. I love to sleep and dream, and everything's great. And then like I went and get in bed. This was like a couple weeks ago. I went and get in bed, and like I'm laying in bed, and like my back just starts hurting just from laying there, and I'm like, dude, okay. So then I flip over, and like so like normally, I don't know about you guys. I sleep either on my left side, and then when like my arms kind of gets, I wouldn't say numb, but it's like, okay, so then I flip over and sleep on my right side, and the right side's the one I normally sleep on. Like my arm doesn't get, I don't know if the word's numb, but it doesn't, whatever. I normally sleep, I'll start sleeping on my left, and then I'll flip over and sleep on my right. So I got into bed, and I'm sleeping on my left, and everything's fine. And then I flip over to the right, which is the side I always sleep on, and holy shit, did my back start hurting me. And
maybe you need a new mattress?
No, because, I mean, maybe, but like literally I've been sleeping on my right-hand side forever, and it was like literally everything was fine the day before, and the day before that, and the months before that, and the years before that. And then I flipped over on the right-hand side, and all of a sudden, like, my back started just seizing up. So then like, okay, I gotta flip back over to the left. I flip back over to the left. Everything's fine. Everything's good. And I flip back over to the right. Nope, I can start feeling pain in my. I'm just like, what is going on? It's like.
Joe Sinister says, put a pillow between your knees when you sleep on your side. I do that. Not a pillow though. I like wrap. I wrap the duvet. Like, no, do you not do that? Or Rand, you could buy an anime hug pillow.
Yeah.
Ask your buddy Gopher if he's got a spare one. But
I mean,
you might want to.
He's got.
You might want to clean it first.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I probably need to sleep with a pillow between my knees. But it was just something that happened. I was just like, how did this? Like everything's been fine, and then all of a sudden, like,
yeah, we get it, Rand. You're old.
Yes. So let's move on from that. Let's talk about the PS5 price increase, shall we? Let's get to the juicy topic.
Spicy. Let's get spicy.
Yeah.
PS5 price increase.
Yeah.
So remind the party what actually happened. Let's give us the juice.
So
you made a video.
So like
you know the deets.
When Sony did their financial results, somebody asked them about the price of the PS5. And Sony's response was they can't comment on it or something. It was a weird response. It wasn't like we have no plans to raise it. They were just like, we're not talking about it now. And it made people being like, huh, that's a weird response. And if you recall, then a couple weeks later, Meta raised the price of the Quest 2 $100. And
yes,
people were like, wait a minute, what is that, right? And here come the bots, Jez. We gotta hide these people. But yes, so out of nowhere, at the crack ass of not the crack, I was gonna say the crack ass of dawn, but like 3 a.m. my time, I'm sitting up here on the PC, and all of a sudden I see, I think a Nebellion tweeted it, PlayStation's raising its prices across the world, and I'm like, Nani? Nani? What? Right?
Nani?
I was just like, no, like, what is, they're raising prices? And it's like, we're raising, so, let's hear from the words of Jim Lion Ryan, if I can find the blog post.
Jim tap dancing Ryan.
Because he wrote it. He wrote the blog post. So it's in his words, right? So,
man, his marketing team was like, "Look, you're gonna own. Yeah,
you're putting your name on this.
You're owning this."
So Jim Ryan, our good friend of the show, he says the global economic environment is a challenge that many of you around the world are no doubt experiencing. Yes, inflation is ridiculous all over the world. He says we're seeing high global inflation rates as well as adverse currency trends impacting consumers and creating pressure on many industries. Based on these challenging economic conditions, SIE has made the difficult decision to increase the recommended retail price of PlayStation 5 in select markets across Europe, the Middle East and Africa, Asia Pacific, Latin America, as well as Canada. There will be no price increase in the United States. Why, Jimbo? I thought that there was high global inflation rates. In fact, I thought inflation was pretty high. Are you saying inflation is not a thing here in the United States? Everywhere else in the world but here? What's going on, Jimbo? And then they give you
has no inflation. Oh my god!
Like so. But then again, I guess the currency exchange rates for the United States are actually pretty good, and I think that's the reason why they're gonna be like, oh, well, that's why we didn't do it, right?
To be fair, America's inflation rate isn't as bad as Britain's either.
So,
Britain's hitting 14% or something.
Europe went the Europe to PS5 went up to €549. UK it went up to, was it 479 sterling? Right, sterling is the currency in Europe.
Quid.
In UK? Quid. Okay.
Quid, mate.
Japan, it went all the way up to like 60,000 yen. China went up to whatever the 4,000, whatever the currency is in China. Australia, 800. We're like, what? Mexico, 14,000. Was that pesos?
What? Australia went up by how much?
Well, it says Australia now for PS5 is $799.95.
Mind you, is that like Australian spider?
I'm assuming it's like Australian dollaroos, right? We'd have to ask Special Nick, but yeah. And then Canada it went up to 649. Canadian Mountie dollars. So everywhere, and then
we're just alienating the whole world right now.
Yeah.
What is Australian money? What even is it? Australian dollar. Okay. Right. So what I want to know what the conversion rate is here. Australian to GBP. Let's look at that. So 100. Oh, it's 470 quid. So yeah, it's about the same as the UK.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a lot, but it isn't really. What is it in USD?
Well, so it was like
that's 550. That's 550 US dollars. 800 Australian dollar roos.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to everyone in Australia for offending.
So then Jim Ryan.
Except for Nick.
Jim Ryan ends this by saying, "While this price increase is a necessity, given the current global economic environment and its impact on SIE's business, our top priority continues to be improving the PS5 supply situation so that as many players as possible can give us as much money as possible and can experience everything that the PS5 offers and what's still to come." Right? So, interesting, because I wasn't expecting this. I thought all the pricing talk was, once the consoles were priced at 500, 400, and 300, remember all these discussions we had during the run-up in 2020? I thought we wouldn't be talking about pricing anymore. But here we are, talking about pricing. And, well, look, I get the current economic hardships, inflation, the rising costs of, supplies, the currency exchange rates, all that stuff. Everything's more expensive. But like I said, Jim Ryan, dance moves, line Ryan, he just comes across as an uncaring, cold businessman who doesn't care that you're going to pay more. And, in my opinion, people may disagree with me, this move basically is akin to him giving the middle finger to everybody in the world except for people in North America, right? Because they're signaling to everybody else. It's like, you in the UK and Europe and Asia and Japan and Australia and Canada, you have to pay more for this product. But they don't, because they matter and you don't. So you're all second-class citizens. This would have been probably a little bit different if they actually just raised prices completely across the board everywhere, and it was $550 here in the States. But they didn't raise it here because Xbox and PlayStation are putting on a really good fight. It's very competitive here in the United States. It's probably the one market where it's really uber competitive. The other markets, not so much.
In the UK though, it's pretty close in the UK as well.
Not as close as here in the States though.
I think that'll change. I think this holiday season that'll change very rapidly, because this price increase is not going down well in the UK.
Well,
it's really
and then
not.
I didn't talk about this in my video. It's just like Sony's raising the price of the console, giving the middle finger to their fans, basically saying you're not as important as these people in the United States. But then it just kind of also snowballs into all their other decisions of raising prices, like $70 games, right? They were the ones who basically ushered in the $10 price increase. But not only that, you have to pay $10 to upgrade your games. $10, for, some of these upgrades for some of these titles. It's like, it just seems like Sony's just like, give us that money, baby. That's what we're all about. And it looks kind of shady and pathetic. Like, look, they're talking about how it's such a necessity and all these different things, yet at the same time, next year they're going to brag how they had record profits and how they've had the most money they've ever made. That's the thing that's like, it always sits wrong with me. It's like you have these oil companies raising the prices of oil and then bragging about how, like, it's record. We made record revenue and record profits. It's like, yeah, you're raising the price on all this stuff when you don't have to. Like, so Microsoft responded. You got in touch with Microsoft, correct?
I did. I was at Gamescom. And the news broke as I was literally walking through the doors to the Kölnmesse. And I went straight over to the Xbox press area and I was like, yo, can I get a statement on this bad boy? And lo and behold, I was the first person to ask. So I was the first person who got the statement. And their statement was as follows. And they offered this statement localized for different regions. So depending on where you were getting this statement, if you're a UK outlet or a German outlet, you'd be getting a different statement with a different price in it. And this is what they gave to the US market. We are constantly evaluating our business decisions to offer our fans great gaming options. Xbox Series S retail price remains at $299, and the Xbox Series X remains at $499. A Microsoft spokesperson, and then they offered exactly the same for the UK, but €249.99 and €449.99, and then for Germany, €299 and €499. So their suggestion there is that they have no plans to raise prices right now as a result of the current trajectory of the global economy. However, I do think they've left themselves some wiggle room if things get worse. Because let's face it, things may get worse between now and next year and the next quarter. Things may get worse. And if Microsoft has to realistically look at some of this stuff, then maybe they've got wiggle room to be like, yeah, we said we're evaluating and now we're reevaluating. But I think the fact that they put this statement out there suggests to me that right now they're not doing any price changes based on the current projections of the world economy. If they didn't think they could weather this storm, they'd probably be a little less definitive about it and be like, yeah, well, we might have to, or they might have just said no comment right now. If they'd have said no comment right now, like Sony a couple of months ago, you could be able to expect a price rise. But the fact that they put this in writing, pretty much suggests to me that at least through this holiday season, the prices are going to be the same, right? Which is the crucial time to have that message out there that we have the better value. And that is what they're buying here, ultimately. They are buying marketing with this. Sony has given them marketing license to say we offer the best value in next-gen gaming. They could literally sloganize that. They offer the most powerful, the most affordable next-gen console. And when was the last time that happened? Oh, it was when Sony had the cheaper but more powerful PS4. And then what happened, But the difference is Sony really put that message out there. Will Microsoft do the same thing? Will they even have supplies enough to capitalize on this situation? Microsoft could put its prices up as well, because ultimately supply is not meeting demand,
Yeah, and Phil even said in the interview he thinks demand's going to outstrip supply this year for the whole year.
So the fact that Microsoft is not putting their prices up, despite the fact that demand is outstripping supply, that is, to me, that's ideological. They're not putting the prices up because they can afford to not be assholes, frankly speaking. If this was Apple, they'd put the prices up. If it was Google, they'd put the prices up. So I don't give a crap. But I feel like because Phil's actually a gamer and they care about the fans and they're engaged with the fans. Like when I was at Gamescom, I bumped into Aaron Greenberg leaving the Kölnmesse because he was going to have an impromptu meeting with some fans and grab a beer in a local pub, Can you see Jim Ryan doing that? No. Can you see Jim Ryan leaving Gamescom early and ignoring his business meetings to go and have a drink and go and have a beer with some PlayStation fans? It'd never fucking happen. In a million years, that would never happen. No Sony executive would do that. But all of Xbox executives do that kind of stuff because they're kind of running it almost like a startup. Frankly, I don't know if Phil gets away with it. The other divisions at Microsoft must be looking at Xbox like, why does Phil get to do all this stuff? Why does Aaron get to do all this stuff? And it's because they deliver. and they make money, and they're generating goodwill for a company that had a lot of negative will for decades. You know, after the 90s, Microsoft was the most hated company in America. You know, and then after the Xbox One happened, everyone was like, "Oh God, Microsoft's really screwed everything up." And and now we've got a team in place of people that not only do they care, but they have the mandate to show they care. They have the freedom to show they care, and engage with fans. Like, there's no other company I work with at that level that I can just DM random people at Xbox and then get a reply. Like, they do it because they actually care. They're not getting paid for it. Like, I can literally DM Jason Ronald that suggestion someone dropped earlier about pinning games not to be included in Game Pass. I'm in suspension mode, and I'm literally gonna do it right now.
Yeah, I had a question about Phil's interview, so I DM'd Phil, and he got back to me in 15 minutes answering my question about it.
Yeah, it's just literally like that couldn't happen. Alexander says, actually, Jez, the Tesla community is like that. Yeah, maybe. And that's probably why Tesla's as popular as it is. Because, they engage with their audience, And PlayStation has this sort of stuffy, sort of almost robotic, hyper-corporate attitude, which I think is going to run its course pretty soon. I don't think you can get away doing the things they're doing. As much as they are, I think there's like, what do they call it? Is it social capital, where you've got so much like goodwill you can spend until you run out. I feel like Sony's been burning through that goodwill. They'll win a bunch back in September if they do have a showcase, and obviously God of War Ragnarok. Ultimately, it's about the games at the end of the day, but Sony's also spending a lot of that social capital doing these really weird anti-consumer, tone-deaf sort of moves, while also handing Microsoft free marketing slogans.
Well, yeah,
right?
the problem with this is they're making more money than they ever made before, and yet they're still passing on the cost to the consumers, which, whatever, but it's not like Microsoft or Nintendo aren't experiencing the same problems. Like, Microsoft and Nintendo are going to experience the same currency exchange rates and the same inflation and the same everything that Sony's experiencing, but neither Microsoft or Nintendo are going to raise prices. And quite frankly, Nintendo could raise prices and people would still buy that system even though the hardware is 6 years old at this point. I mean, more people buy the Switch than buy anything. And they could get away with it if they wanted, but Nintendo's not going to do it. And Microsoft, like Jim says, it's a necessity. Like, bullshit, it's a necessity. It is not a necessity. Maybe it's a necessity to keep your profit margins higher, right? But you're going to brag next year that PlayStation had its best year of revenue ever because now you're charging an extra $50 on every one of these systems sold. And it's just one of those things where I look at it and it's just like, you're not even going all the way through with it because you're not even raising the prices in the United States because you're scared of the competition that Xbox has with you in this market. And I think it's very telling that they're not doing it here and they're using the rest of the world to subsidize the US market, because if they did raise prices to $550 and $450, I think the Xbox Series X and Series S would outsell the PlayStation. They definitely would be number one, and Sony doesn't want that at all because this is This is Xbox's major market. Everything kind of flows from here. You don't want to Sony's already. Remember, we talked about it. Sony's worried about Game Pass and worried and scared about how that could impact their future bottom line. The Activision deal is going to close. You got all these things going on here. It's like they can get away with it in all these other countries, so they're going to do it. And they're basically saying to themselves, we can do it because people are going to give us money, and it's only $50 because it's only $50 or $30, but you're not going to do it here because you can't. I don't know. I was very harsh on PlayStation. I think it's a shitty move to do. But
is.
I was equally as harsh to Xbox when they tried the pulling over on everybody and double the price of Xbox Live Gold. People forget that, like, people are like, "Oh, you're just a Xbox fanboy or whatever," and like, I've never hid my preferences from Xbox. I mean, I'm the man with the million, for Christ's sake. I got a million gamer score. Like,
it's really. I'm going to criticize something right now because I do this too. It's really annoying, right? When Sony does something shitty, everyone feels like they have to qualify it by saying like, yeah, well, I criticized Xbox in the past. It's only Sony you have to do that for. Because for whatever reason, everyone's terrified of criticizing Sony. The fact of the matter is, Sony's making gaming more expensive right now, while Xbox is trying to lower the barriers to entry. Xbox is trying to make it more affordable for youngsters, for people with less money, while Sony is jacking up the prices of games to $70 fucking dollars. They're making their consoles more expensive. Will they bring down the price of their consoles in the future? Nobody knows, And I think, like, yeah, so Xbox has screwed up in the past, but right now, it's only Sony who's being shitty. Like, Xbox has, like, been, like, only offering good stuff for ages. Xbox Series S, the Game Pass, letting you play Xbox games soon on your TV using just an app. Like, these are things I would have loved to have had as a kid, as a kid from the poor counties of Northern England, And if I was a kid like who'd hoped to get a PlayStation 5 this year, and then Sony drops this price hike at the same time as, the energy crisis going on, and I went to my parents asking for this stuff. I just know how much of like a slap in the face that is to a parent who's having to count every quid to pay for their bills right now. And it might not seem like a lot of money to, like, it's like 30 quid or whatever, which is like $40. What's $40? Who cares? But it's just the tone deafness of it. If it really is just $40, why is Sony nickel and diming us out of it?
But you know the worst part of it, though? You know what the absolute worst part about it is? You have a lot of the PlayStation fans on social media defending it, licking the boots of Jim Ryan.
Of course they do. And that's why, like, people are scared to criticize Sony, because of these militant fanboys across both sides of the aisle. But honestly, I never really see that kind of blind fanboyism that you get from PlayStation content creators on the Xbox side. I see Xbox fans, like Xbox content creators, constantly sort of tiptoeing around this sort of stuff and saying like, well, I criticized Xbox before, But PlayStation content creators never have to do that because the Xbox feels like it's always on the back foot. Why can't they criticize PlayStation for fucking up? This is like the most blatant, stupid decision from PlayStation that just has no defense. You can't come out as Sony and be like, oh, we had record quarter, we're making money hand over fist. Our monthly active users are up constantly. Look at all these great dividends we're giving you epic shareholders. And I'll tell you why. It's because lying Jim Ryan only cares about those shareholders. They don't care about the fans. They don't care about the content creators who are shilling for them left, right, and center. They wouldn't meet up with them at Gamescom and just come and hang out with them or go in for a drink. They don't give a crap about these people. And I don't know why they shill for Sony so hard while getting shafted so bad. Is God of War really worth it? To be such a bootlicker? I don't know. Maybe it is.
Well, the interesting one is the interesting defense I've seen outside of like macroeconomics and inflation and all this like supply and demand shit, which I understand, whatever, is like, we're glad because PlayStation 5 is a premium console, so we'll be happy to pay more for it because we get a premium experience, right? That's how some of them are defending it. And it's like, well, where was that argument when you're talking about the speculation of pricing of the console? Like, nobody was talking about PlayStation being a premium experience when you were talking about oh, are they going to be the same price? Is one going to undercut the other? No, it's like you wanted it to be the same, or you wanted Sony to be cheaper because you wanted Sony to win. But now that, Sony, Xbox has a bad year, right? Xbox is, because I've even seen some people saying Sony can do this because they got games. Xbox couldn't get away with this. If Xbox raised the price of their games, they couldn't, or price of their console, they couldn't get away with it because they don't have anything. It's like, so you're telling me Sony can get away with it because they have God of War coming and that's it? Is that your like genius like reasoning? They can get away with it because they got God of War coming? Huh? And Xbox couldn't because Xbox has nothing coming this year? But what about all the games coming? Like, people are just bending over backwards to make these, like, sort of defenses for their favorite company, right? And I'll never, like, Xbox is my platform. It's the one I prefer greatly. And I won't, if something they do is something bad, I'll be the first one out there. Like, price raise, Xbox Live Gold, not on my watch. Jez, you know how much trouble I got into when I called out the Crackdown, all that Crackdown stuff for Crackdown 3 in 2017?
Yeah, I know.
I like, you guys don't even understand how much trouble I got into. But it had to be said because it was awful. There's just certain things Xbox does that it's just like, you need, like the game DVR thing needs to be fixed. It's absurd that it's in the current state it is, right? Yeah, we're all disappointed Xbox delayed all their games. Like, what else are you supposed to say about it? Like, this has been going on too long. At some point, Xbox gonna have to shit and get off the pot and start putting out some of these titles, and hopefully they're great. But you're never gonna see me double over and backward and trying to come up with scenarios about why this is good, like some of these other people are. It's absolutely absurd. And it's like you said, Ryan, he don't care about the fans. He cares about the bottom line. That's all he cares about. And the fans are just like, it doesn't matter. I'll always support Sony because bangers. Because this, that, and the other. Okay, I like Sony games just as much as anybody else. But, this price raise doesn't affect me because I already have my digital edition. And I'm not buying another PlayStation anytime soon. And it wouldn't affect me because I live in the great North America, United States, where Jim Ryan has said, you're the most valued customer. Thank you, Jim Ryan. Thank you for validating that we are the best. And that Jez Corden and everybody else in the filthy Euro, United Kingdom, Japan, China, and Asia, and everywhere else, Australia, thank you for subsidizing the fact that I don't have to pay more for PlayStations, Jez. Thank you. I want to thank you very much. Everybody else who lives outside the United States, thank you for subsidizing the best market there is. The only market that matters.
Yeah. It's just frustrating, It's just frustrating, especially because, like, in the same statement, he was like, "There'll be no price increase in the United States," as if like he deserves thanks or praise for that.
Thanks,
while screwing over Germans and Japanese and English gamers and Scottish gamers and Australian gamers with their dollaroos and shit, man. It's like it's the worst corporate bullshit.
And you know what?
Strategy I've ever seen in my life.
Xbox could have raised prices too. They could have done it. They could have done exactly what PlayStation did, raised the prices to match everywhere else in the world, and they would have been fine. They would have kept them sane in North America. Everybody was hating on PlayStation, and people would have been mad at PlayStation, and if Xbox would have done it after, the response wouldn't have been as heated because people, used all their anger at PlayStation. So Xbox could have 100% done it, and they decided not to, even though they face the same problems. So, if whatever, like. We got a lot of super chats here to read, Jez, so we can
let's get through some super chats and
Achievement
move the hell on.
Says, playing Death Stranding, baby is cute, but this is literally a walking sim. Super cool getting Xbox achievements for a Sony title, though. Death Stranding is definitely a very unique game. Yeah, and it is a walking simulator. That is 100% sure. We'll see. Jez, are you going to go back and play it? You said you're going to finish it. Are you actually going to? We'll have to see.
Yes, yes, I will finish it.
Yes,
someday.
Lady Foxfire with the birthday super chat. Thank you for the well wishes, Lady Foxfire. Let's see what else. Let me scroll up here, see if I can find any more. Okay. We got Tyson with in Australia just to play COD on PS5 online. It will be over $1,000. A Series S and Family Pass when COD is in Game Pass will be half price. And then George says, "Cat bro, does Phil really respond to you?" Oh yeah, Phil responds to me all the time. I can DM him something and normally responds that day. Like I had a question about his interview, and he responded like 10 minutes later. Like I used to play games with Phil all the time back in like 2015, 2016, 2017. And then he started getting more into Destiny. I'm like, I'm out of here. I don't want to I don't want to bother Phil, so I don't really jump in his parties that much anymore. But yeah, like me and Phil, I was giving him feedback about the show, and we were talking about their show and what I liked about it, what I didn't like. I mean, you talk to Phil all the time, don't you, Jez?
I do, yeah. Phil's awesome, and he takes the feedback. He talks to all sorts of Xbox gamers because he wants to stay out of that bubble. I think like there's this thing at Microsoft where Windows and Surface and stuff like this, a lot of them they don't sort of get out of this bubble. And I wrote an article ages ago about like why I stopped buying Surface, and it's because I got this crazy conspiracy theory that Surface devices are developed in laboratories with lots of air conditioning, and then when you actually use a Surface in the real world, they run too damn hot, and it's because like they haven't communicated with anyone who uses a Surface in the real world or like outside of America where there's no air conditioning. It's like you can't use these devices in 35 degrees weather without air conditioning, And I think like Phil saw a lot of the failings of the different Microsoft divisions, and like I ain't gonna be like that. I'm gonna work hard to engage with our customers so I can learn from them and not get Xbox into the same situation it was in during the Xbox One launch, during like with Kinect and stuff like that, and where they got arrogant. I think that's where it comes from partially, and also maybe because Phil's a nice guy.
Andrew,
Phil is a nice guy.
Andrew Courtney says, "I saw the Asian market was really upset at the PS5 price increase. They were asking for Final Fantasy 16 to be on Steam at launch." Yeah, well, I mean, like the Nintendo owns that market now. Like this is kind of just another. I mean, because I think that there was like 20% raise in Japan, so now it's like
20%.
Yeah, so like now it's really expensive there, and that's Sony's homegrown territory, and they're still
OG's
just
not
being
anymore.
like whatever.
They moved.
Whatever.
They moved
raising
their HQ to America, didn't they?
Well, I mean, I think Europe is wherever John Ryan was is not like that's where the global thing is, because he's head of Sony Europe or was head of Sony Europe. I don't know, whatever it's now, but like, yeah. Theory of Zero says, "Happy birthday, Rand. I don't usually get to listen live, but want to let you know your content brightens my day." Well, thank you. That means a lot. It really does. I know I need to make more videos. I'm kind of getting back in the spirit of it. I know people even though I think maybe a video's not worth, because I have this conversation with Jez a lot, and I'm just like, I don't know if it's worth making a video, because Jez is like, just make a video. But I'm like, Jez, your articles take you 10 minutes to write. A video for me is like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours of just, okay, saying what I want to say, editing it, uploading it, doing like it's a process. Where for Jez, it's like he just poops out an article like 5 minutes later. So it's like some of it's just not whatever. So it's just I
feel bad because some of our writers work like really hard and take their time and like they check their work and stuff like that. I just hammer an article into Word, don't read it, and then just put it straight through to draft it. Don't tell my editor this, but I type like 200 words a minute. So like I type as fast as I think. So it's really easy for me to get an article down. And then when I try and make a video, it's like, oh my God, this is so slow. Mm-hmm. How do people do this for a living? I wish I could like make a video as fast as I could think it, like I can with an article. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But then there are some articles which, wow, they take a long time. Like, yeah, I did like Windows Central's best Xbox games of all time article update recently. That took me a whole week.
Yeah, and you know what? I got a bone to pick with you about that article.
I'll go on.
You were like, I need some help. Give me some games that would fit these things. So I gave you a ton of games, and you didn't include any of them that I gave you.
Didn't I?
No, you include nothing. It was the same list that you gave me that you used, and you didn't use any of the ones I gave you. So I'm never helping you again for your article.
Wow. Well, to be fair, I wrote that article in collaboration with basically the whole Windows Central team. So you might have been outvoted on some things.
Whatever. Baldy McNosehair says, do you guys think Sony will raise the price on PS Plus? Probably, I would say probably not. No, I don't think so. I think it would look weird considering they sort of just set prices for it just a month ago, 2 months ago, in June when they launched the service. It would look extremely odd where, because that's when they, it's like you just set prices for the service, and now you're gonna raise them. No, so I think they keep it the same. Mike says, please dig deep and open your wallets, folks. Sony needs our money more than we do. P.S. Happy birthday, Rand. Thank you, Mike. And yes, they're struggling out there, baby. High economic stress, inflation all over everything, cost of components, exchange rates. They just need your money to survive. Give it to them.
Man, think of poor Jim Ryan.
Yeah,
he might have to
he can't get a second yacht this year.
Yeah, God, yeah. Poor Jim Ryan. What was that thing where when the Wii U flopped, the Nintendo execs they all took a pay cut rather than lay people off and shit? Am I imagining that? Or is that a thing that actually happened?
I don't know. I don't.
I'm gonna look that up.
You look that up. Icyler says, does Jez know if these decisions affect the quality of their games? If not, I don't care what day a console is about the games, in my opinion.
Sorry, what did he say? I was locking up that Nintendo stuff.
If these decisions affect the quality of their games, if not,
that is the narrative that is often put forward about. That's the narrative that's often put forward as a defense for Sony doing this. Is that because Xbox has Game Pass and because it doesn't raise its game prices to $70 like Sony, then that's why Xbox games like State of Decay are AA. But the thing is, that's bullshit. That's bullshit, I'm afraid. It just is, because there's no reason Microsoft can't match Sony on budgets when it comes to some of this stuff. Because Xbox makes money hand over fist because of Fortnite and Call of Duty Warzone. It's not just the retail sales, and it's certainly not the hardware sales which make a game good. It's stuff like having the right devs and the right teams. And Sony's got a very mature pipeline in place that makes games that's matured over decades, whereas Xbox has sort of had years and years of disruption and fluctuating budgets, and Microsoft executive leadership teams not taking the division seriously, that it doesn't have a sort of mature pipeline in place to really deliver these games on a regular cadence. However, that's why they bought Bethesda, and that's why they're buying Activision, because these studios do have processes in place to deliver those games on a regular cadence. It's just unfortunate that all of this happened in the middle of a pandemic. And I was speaking to a lot of developers at Gamescom about how the pandemic had affected their studios. And pretty much all of them said similar things, which is smaller teams were less affected because they can be more nimble and stuff like that. Whereas bigger teams, where there's a lot of things when there's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of decisions that are going to be made, there's a lot of middle management that have to be consulted, there's legal teams that have to be consulted, things have to be improved and approved and all that stuff. And when you remove that from the office, where you can just go and speak to someone, and you start leaving it up to an email, it has this cascading effect on productivity. And the bigger the studio, the worse it gets. And that's why 343 was uniquely impacted by COVID. And that's why like a lot of these other studios have had loads of game delays or games that came out half baked, like Battlefield 2042, you know. So it just is what it is. And it's unfortunate that this happened when it did. But, you know, a lot of Sony's games were sort of past that collaborative phase, luckily for them, when they were moving through the pandemic. And they've also got pipelines in place that maybe it was easier for them, you know. 343's had a lot of disruption over the years. And Xbox in general has had a load of disruption over the years. And just kind of sucks that the pandemic happened. But, you know, we are coming out the other side of it now. And I think 2023, 2024, things are going to sort of start snowballing. And we're going to start seeing an Xbox that we've never seen before. We're going to start seeing an Xbox that does deliver on the level of Sony, beyond the level of Sony, and while being cheaper. And I think that's a recipe for disaster for Sony. But we'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out.
Yeah. Miguel says, I have a feeling Sony's venture into games as a service with 10 live service games is going to put ABK and EA to shame. I don't know if that means put them to shame as in like do better than them or do worse than them. I'm not sure which way you're saying it. I could see The Last of Us Factions being really good.
I mean, it's certainly possible that Sony could have like a really great slate of games as a service games coming that like do look better than ABK and EA and stuff like that. But I also really doubt it. Making a service game is not easy. And we've seen Ubisoft cancel service games left, right, and center. There was even rumors that Roller Champions is going to shut down. You know, and that had to come out and be like, oh no, Roller Champions is not going to shut down. It's a lie. You know, they shut down that Hyperspace, whatever it was called. I can't even remember what it's called now. And like Ubisoft announced like 1 million Battle Royale games since then. What the hell happened to Rainbow Six Quarantine or whatever it's called? When's the last time you heard anything about that? You know? So making service games is not easy. And I think Sony could potentially deliver that stuff. But, you know, look at Anthem. You know, EA gave a studio that wasn't designed to make service games a service game, and it was a mega failure. It was an Omega level supernova of a failure. So that could also happen too. You know, we'll just have to wait and see. I think like The Last of Us service game could be good, but what about the rest? I mean, Sony. Do you remember Sony's massive action game, MAG, or whatever it was called, back in the day?
Yes.
I was so intrigued by that game, and then it was just sort of terrible. But it's like they were trying to make Battlefield before the technology was there, or something. Fair play to them for trying. But boy, oh boy,
and then I believe they shut that studio down right after that.
Yeah, they did.
Spike says, feels like Sony's gone back to the cocky PS3 days. And Edwin says, Colin Moriarty said that Sony can't take the financial hit, and that's why they raised the price. Is this true? I'm not a financial expert. Well, neither am I. I'm not a financial expert either.
A degree in economics.
So, could Sony not absorb that? I mean, this is a company PlayStation that literally made $25 billion in revenue the previous year, and they're probably going to make something similar. So, or is it more like they needed to keep their profit margins high so their stockholders are happy, and if they didn't raise prices, then their profit levels wouldn't have been, they wouldn't have met the levels of what shareholders wanted, so their stock price would have went down? Is it more that?
What if, right? Now, this is a conspiracy theory. What if Sony's doing this because they didn't want to miss their targets and take a hit to their share price and then face a hostile takeover from Tencent or something like that? What if?
Would Japan even allow Tencent to come in and buy Sony? I doubt that very much.
Man, that's always the myth that Japan won't let a foreign company buy them, but I don't know, man. And I thought Sony was headquartered in America now. So why not?
Not to mention Sony has a lawsuit, $6 billion lawsuit going on against them right now too in the UK, right?
Yeah, that's going nowhere.
Yeah, it's probably
All,
not going
all,
anywhere.
all the barristers, as we call them, we call lawyers in the UK barristers or solicitors. They're all on strike right now in the UK. So I doubt that's happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Andrew says Nintendo's president took a pay cut to not lay off staff years back during a bad
oh
economic
yeah,
year for them.
So that was it.
Yeah.
I did look it up. It was So President Satoru Iwata said he would take a 50% pay cut, and then various other executives saw a reductions of 20 to 30% after disappointing sales of the Wii U console, and that's going back to 2014. Wow. Would Lion Jim Ryan ever do that, Rand? Think Jim Ryan ever take a pay cut?
No, of course not.
Is that not in their culture? I don't know.
No. Don says happy birthday. Thank you. Deathloop on Game Pass next month? Question mark. What do you think? September 14th is the day when maybe the contract's up. We don't know how long the contract's for,
It's kind of frustrating because they can't even talk about Deathloop right up until the contract ends. So what do? Do you just shadow drop Deathloop straight into Game Pass on the day? Or do you build it up marketing wise and then maybe drop it in a more strategic month during the holiday season when you've got a dry month or something? Well, which is a lot of months for Xbox this year, frankly.
Which is almost every month for Xbox, but yeah.
Yeah, so but maybe you want to give indie games, maybe you want to give Grounded that breathing space. Because I think when Grounded hits 1.0, it's going to get millions of extra players. For sure. And also they're doing that whole hosted server thing, so you can sort of you can trade a cloud save over to someone else's console dynamically using Xbox Live. It's sort of the halfway point between having dedicated servers and not. It's quite interesting if it actually works. I don't know whether they can't just give us dedicated servers. I mean, it is Azure, but whatever. But they are doing this and also it's 1.0, more content, complete story mode, and they're putting a lot of marketing behind Grounded. I think Grounded's going to hit the ground running. Get it?
Yes,
get it?
yes,
get
I
it?
get it.
Get it? Because it's Grounded.
Yeah, Jez. A nice little pun there. Congratulations.
Oh man, maybe we better cut to an ad break there.
This is the question. So, assuming the deal's for a year, because we don't know, but let's just assume for the discussion's sake it is. Would they shadow drop it on the 15th, the first day they possibly could? Because I don't think they can talk about it until the 15th. I don't think they could announce it early. It'd be the 15th, and then Deathloop's coming to Xbox. Do they immediately just drop it? And my gut says no. My gut says that they're actually going to want to market it somewhat. And they're not just going to shadow drop a big first-party title. Even though that game's been out on for a year for PlayStation, it's still a big title from one of your newly acquired studios. So, in my mind, I think they drop it in October or potentially maybe late November, something like that, November.
Yeah.
Keep in mind also that if there was going to be a physical release, they'd have to ship physical copies to stores. I mean, would we start to see some of those physical discs start showing up at GameStop at some point next month before the thing? That's another reason why it's I don't think they'll do it. I mean, it's possible they do a digital only release, but I don't know. So for me, I'm kind of expecting it to come October or November. Grounded's coming 27th, which would be 2 weeks later. They don't have anything for October outside of the Game Pass titles. Persona's coming, Plague Requiem's coming to Game Pass, Scorn's coming that month, and then you got Call of Duty and Gotham Knights and stuff. Pentiment was announced finally for November. I think that's November 15th, I believe they announced it for.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you announce it end of November. Maybe you have it launch end of October. I don't know. But if I had to guess, put money on it, I don't think you'll just wake up on the 15th and then be saying, Deathloop's out on Xbox now, guys, and Game Pass. I don't think they'll do that. But I would like to be wrong because I wouldn't mind replaying Deathloop again. I think it deserves a second people like an audience because I don't think it's sold well on PlayStation, and I think the game's quite good. Not one of Arcane's best because that would be the Dishonored's and the praise, but it's definitely a really good title. So we'll see. We'll see when assuming it's a year because who knows? I mean, Kenna's year anniversary is coming up. Still no announcement about an Xbox version. Sifu, years coming up. They keep on talking about stuff. Sifu's, but it definitely, I don't know. I don't know if it seems like these PlayStation deals are just longer than a year. I don't know. Who know? Speaking of PlayStation deals, in the time where PlayStation needs to raise prices for their consoles, they're also spending millions of dollars getting exclusive missions in Hogwarts, Jez.
Yes. Yes, indeed. I don't care, though, because Hogwarts Legacy is lame.
You think Hogwarts Legacy is lame?
I don't care about Harry Potter, Rand.
Okay, fair enough.
I know you like it, right? You love it because it's a book, right? Harry Potter's
just because it's a book, you think I like anything that's a book?
Yes, you love books. That's your whole deal. And if it's a game plus book, then you're all over it, man. You are all over it. Rand, I bet there's Peppa Pig books. That means you should like Peppa Pig as well.
Should I, huh?
No.
I mean, this is... I sort of thought like this sort of thing was done because I'm trying to think, has Sony done this for anything yet this gen where they have an exclusive mission that they paid for? They did it a lot last generation. All the Call of Duties had some sort of exclusive mode for a year. Destiny had exclusive content, that didn't come to Xbox for a while, and people hated it. Everybody hated it, but PlayStation fans were like, I love it because it makes me feel like I'm wanted. That was some of the things that I would always hear them say. Like, it makes me feel special that Sony's spending this money to get extra things for me. Even though it's content that they are already making that PlayStation just gave them to say, give it to us. It's not like they made it. It's not like they weren't going to make this mission and then Sony came along with the money and they're like, all right, we'll make a new mission. It was just like, no, here's a mission. And Sony's like, well, we're paying you to market it and we'll give you some more money. Make something exclusive to us. And they're like, sure, how much are you giving us? We'll take one of these missions and make it exclusive. No problem, Jim Ryan. So Jim Ryan. But then Jim Ryan's like, it's a necessity. Got to raise the prices on these consoles everywhere in the world. We can't take this financial hit, but we're gonna keep the consoles the same price in the U.S.
Yeah.
Can't take the hit, but we're gonna keep prices the same here. Subsidize everywhere else. Spend millions on exclusive Hogwarts missions. $70 games. $10 upgrades.
Seriously. I don't get Sony's mentality. Does Sony really think that one quest in Hogwarts is going to move the needle? It ain't going to move the needle. It's really not. It's really not going to move the needle, especially in countries where they have increased the price in PlayStation. I'm not going to be like, oh, I got to spend an extra $30 to get an extra $30 and then an extra $10, to get the upgrade or whatever. But I get an extra mission. Oh, bloody hell, Maybe it was like something significant, like I don't know, a whole extra, I don't know, map or something. Maybe you can take Harry to north of England and see how his magic powers stand up to like the gangsters in Nottingham or something. Man, that would be really. I want to read that book. Harry Potter goes to Nottingham. I think that would be fun. Harry Potter goes to Warsaw. My
Uh,
town.
we got a super chat here from the Great Green who says, first time super chat. Thank you. Happy birthday, Rand. Or he says Stan, but I know he means Rand. Hit that like button. That's right, guys. If you're enjoying the show, do what the Great Green says, please. Hit that like button. And let's move on. Let's talk about Gamescom. Quickly talk about Jeff Keighley's show, and then we'll talk about the personal stuff that Jez has seen. Right, so...
First.
Okay, first. Okay, go ahead.
The chap, I can't remember who said this, but the chap who said that Microsoft should give you the option to pin games that don't get included in Quick Resume. Microsoft, I have just confirmed that Microsoft is actually working on that.
Well, there you go. Breaking news. You're gonna get slothed. Amazing.
Yeah, so it's not coming soon, but it's on the list. It's on the to-do list. So don't tweet it out or anything.
They'll tweet
it's
it
something
out.
They're working on.
They'll tweet it out. Sloth don't care. He'll tweet it out. So I'm just gonna give you stuff that I have thoughts on. Dune Awakening. I was like, yeah, baby, Dune game, and then it was like Dune Survival MMO, and I'm like, lame, right? New Tales from the Borderlands. I love Tales from the Borderlands. I think it's Telltale's best game. I was always saddened when they decided they weren't going to do a sequel or couldn't do a sequel. So when they announced that this game was a thing, I was like, F yeah. Like, I am so excited for But I don't know, man. After watching this trailer, Randy Pitchford, there's just something feels off about this game. I mean, I don't know about it. I'll probably play it, but I was super excited, and now I saw that trailer, and I'm just kind of like, this isn't really what I wanted. Okay, it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't really seem like it captures what made the original so special. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was just a bad trailer. Dead Island 2 ended the show. Unfortunate for Jeff that it sort of leaked by Amazon. I thought it looked fine. It kind of looks a lot like Dying Light, which is, I don't know. I didn't know California was an island, though. Maybe it kind of broke off in an earthquake. But that's coming next year. Zombie games. Callisto Protocol. I've been saying it's my number 2 most anticipated game the rest of the year after God of War Ragnarok. And the very first thing, the trailer that they showed at the PlayStation show, I was like, that looks so good. This trailer that they showed here didn't really do anything for me. I didn't really think it was good. But I know you've seen some things, so tell me about Callisto Protocol.
I was going to say, put it at the top.
The top? Over God of War Ragnarok?
Yeah. Easily. Put it at the top of your list.
Easily better than God of War Ragnarok. Okay.
To be fair, I haven't seen anything God of War Ragnarok, to be honest. But I'm just gonna say that to be a dick. Yeah, put it over God of War Ragnarok. I saw behind closed doors presentation of Callisto Protocol. Probably for a gameplay trailer they're gonna drop in the near future. They give press an early look at it so that the press go and write about it, and then they drop the trailer after the press have written about it. Just to generate more content about the game. But yes, I'm just gonna talk about it here, and I'll write it up as well next week for those who aren't listening. But yeah, I saw Callisto Protocol at Gamescom, and I'm going to literally pull up my notes from the show because I wrote some notes while I was doing it. If my OneNote actually wants to sync. Oh, come on, OneNote. Don't do this to me now. Okay. Lies. Untitled page. Okay. So these are my notes.
Okay.
Tentacles are limbs. Now, I don't know how I've honestly avoided Callisto Protocol quite a lot because I want to go in blind when I play it. But obviously I couldn't do that because I had to go there and write about it. So here's some of my notes. Tentacles are limbs. Now what does that mean, you might be wondering? Enemies in Callisto Protocol, I don't know if you know this, Rand, from other content, but they mutate in real time while you're fighting them.
Yes, they showed that off in this trailer, yes.
Okay, so the video footage that I saw, like not every enemy has these tentacles, but sometimes an enemy like a zombie or whatever, they'll come up to you and they'll have like some tentacles pouring out of them, sticking out of their chest cavity or whatever. Enemies with those tentacles are extremely dangerous. You have to like shoot the tentacles similarly to the limbs from Dead Space. Otherwise, if you let them live for too long, the whatever is inside those tentacles will mutate like the Thing, that 80s movie, and they'll become something completely a million times more dangerous and horrific. Also, this is my second note, key code ripped out. So I don't know if this was in the trailer as well, but I saw a sequence where like it feels like every aspect of the game has to have something gory attached to it. So the guy was like looking for a key, and to get access to the door, the key was literally embedded in this corpse's neck as a chip, and you had to like literally take out your knife and dig the key code chip out of his neck, and there's blood splurting everywhere, and it was absolutely gruesome and amazing. I thought that the upgrade system was really cool. We got a deeper look at that. It's sort of like a 3D printer, and you attach things to your weapon, and like the 3D printer pops out and starts printing extra bits on your gun. Another thing that I thought was really interesting is it feels like there's a really big focus on melee combat. Like one of the things that he 3D prints is like a stun baton. Now, a stun baton in my mind sounds like kind of a boring weapon, but it was more like a stun baseball bat. And he's like dodging these enemies with presumably like parries, and like he's swinging this massive baton, like decimating enemies and stuff. Looked absolutely infectiously fun. And also, they mentioned that for the demo, they'd sort of taken the restrictions off this weapon. It's kind of like a gravity gauntlet. Kind of reminded me of the gravity gun from Half-Life, where you can pick things up and throw them around. Now, like in the demo, they'd remove the cooldown. Apparently, there's like a cooldown in the actual game, but for the demo, they'd remove the cooldown just so they could show it off. And he's like picking up enemies out of the air, throwing them into environmental hazards like meat grinders and stuff like that. And it just like there's so many different ways to approach combat. Also, stealth. Yeah, there's like some limited stealth aspects, like you can sneak around, crouch down, and then get like stealth kills on enemies, which reminded me a little bit of Dead Space. Not Dead Space. The Evil Within. So that made me excited, and it felt like in the demo, enemies were pretty tough. Like they take a lot of damage and a lot of ammo, and you can sort of get ammo back by stomping on enemies, and ammo pops out of their corpses or whatever, or what remains of their human body and stuff. There's also some really crazy enemies in the game. Like there was this like horseman thing, which really reminded me of Parasite Eve 2. Did you ever play that?
No, I haven't played any of the Parasite Eve games.
Like Parasite Eve 2 had some like Parasite Eve 2 was like a survival horror game on the PlayStation 1, which had staggeringly disturbing enemies that sort of blended human elements into really weird sort of different animals, kind of like Silent Hill to some degree. But Parasite Eve 2 honestly took it to the next level. Like if you guys get time, check out some Parasite Eve 2 boss battles on YouTube. That game was absolutely messed up. And I have no idea why they didn't do more with that franchise. But anyway, there was this like horseman monster thing that was super disturbing, and it could go invisible. So like it's like galloping away on like its hands, and then turning invisible, and then popping out at you, and oh my god, in the dark. And it just looked like, to me, it looked like Dead Space taken to the next level. All the combat aspects of Dead Space were there, but then it looked better and more interesting and more engaging with new gen graphics and amazing lighting and on all these kind of cool features. Like you can just sort of feel that it's Glenn Schofield's mind and the creativity of his team, because they told me there that half of Visceral, who made Dead Space, actually worked on this too. So like it's got a lot of the old Dead Space team working on it, not just Glenn. And also like a lot of his team who were working on Call of Duty with him also came across from Activision. So this isn't like some like new indie dev studio. This is like a serious AAA dev studio backed by Krafton, who published PUBG, you know. So while like the first game in the franchise might like, you know, I saw some people in chat say it looks a bit janky. I didn't feel like that from watching it. I thought like maybe some of the combat elements looked a bit sort of scripted. Maybe it's not when you dodge enemies, for example. It's sort of like a scripted animation rather than like the dynamic sort of hitbox collision animations you get in a game like Dark Souls or Elden Ring, for example. It's sort of like a canned animation when you dodge stuff. So like I can sort of see that where some people might think it looks a little bit old school in that context, but it's also the first game in a new franchise. So these are kind of things they can take with feedback. And one thing they did say to me, which I'm not sure if they said it off the record or not, but they really hope that the first game is popular enough to turn this into a franchise. So like, you know, sorry if that was off the record, but I've just put
I
that
mean,
out there.
everybody assumes, franchise. I mean, of course, everybody wants, your game's successful. You want to make
Yeah,
make
of
make a
course.
second game.
Yeah,
So.
it's not revelatory
Yeah.
there, but
So
I
no,
hope I went from sort of being like, yeah, I'm definitely going to play this because I'm a big fan of Glenn Schofield, to being like really excited about this game after seeing it in motion, seeing some of the mechanics they've baked in. It just feels like the creativity of Dead Space's OG team shining through with new technology. And I'm way more interested in it than the Dead Space remake, because for me, the Dead Space remake is a cash in from an EA studio that EA didn't know what to do with, and they heard that Callisto Protocol was being made by Glenn Schofield, and they saw that Resident Evil had this sort of revival, and they were just like, yeah, we want to screw over Glenn Schofield, so let's sort of make this cynical remake of Dead Space, which I'm sort of just like, I just sort of don't care for it. Like I've been there and done that. It's on backwards compatibility. If I want to play Dead Space, I'll go and play the original because it's not that old. It's really not. And but yeah, I mean, it'll be on Game Pass eventually, thanks to the EA Vault. So I'll play it then. But Callisto Protocol for me is a pre-order at this point. So
awesome.
I thought it looked amazing.
Whittier says in the super chat, Jez, people say that E3 is on its last legs. Gamescom seems to be successful. Is there anything E3 can learn or copy from Gamescom?
It's really funny. Like when I first went to E3, I was surprised how small it was. Because E3 is like the Mac Daddy, right? It's like the big one that everyone talks about. But the floor space at the LA Convention Center just isn't that big. Where if you go to the Kölnmesse at Cologne, it's a good 4 or 5 times bigger than E3, maybe more. It's massive. You cannot appreciate how big that building is. It is ridiculous. It's like the biggest convention center I've ever been in, and like, you know, it's like the NEC in Birmingham. You know, it's massive, and it makes the LA Convention Center look small by comparison. And I think like one of the things about Gamescom probably is that it's just maybe easier to access for more people, possibly because maybe it's just like more central, and maybe there's just more developers sort of locally that it's cheaper to get to or something. I don't know what it is, but there's something about Gamescom which is just, it's just massive. There's just so many more booths. There's so much more stuff to see. There's so much more going on, and although Gamescom this year was nowhere near at full capacity, like the last Gamescom I went to when, you know, Fortnite was there for the first time, it was ridiculous. It was just absolutely insane. There was like thousands of people squashed into these like, well, they're not even small corridors. There were just thousands and thousands and thousands of people everywhere. Whereas like E3 just doesn't feel like that. Like E3 feels like a lot more I don't know, sort of like accessible almost, which is weird. I just think like, I don't know why it is. I really don't. I could ask around and find out and stuff like that, but I don't think it's fair to say that E3 is on its last legs. I think we'll see what happens with E3 next year, because the the PAX guys are running E3 next year. Reed Pop, I think they're called. Rand,
Yeah,
is that
something
right?
like that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so they're running it next year, and they know how to do events and stuff like that. So maybe maybe I think saying E3 is done for is premature at this point, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But Gamescom was like it was a good. It was I was surprised that it was about 75%. Like it was much smaller than last time. Like the Xbox booth was smaller. There was less exhibitors. Like I remember one year when EA, I think they had Sims 4 and FIFA and stuff. EA had like almost like a whole like hall to themselves with this massive 360-degree screen. It was absolutely insane. I'd never seen anything like it. Like E3 never has anything like that. But there was nothing like that this year at Gamescom. Oh god! And when Capcom did Resident Evil Village, they actually had the house from Resident Evil Village, the whole bloody house. They built it inside Gamescom, and you could literally like go in and walk around. It was just nuts. I wonder where that house is now. It's probably in some warehouse somewhere, right? But Blue Moon says we have to hurry up because the first Kojima podcast is in 30 minutes.
Well, we'll probably go longer than that. Sorry, you might have to check. I mean, it's a podcast, so you can listen to it later. And yeah, we did just get Sloth. You got Sloth, by the way. He just put out the thing about the pins. But yeah. Moving on. Gotham Knights had a new trailer with the villains. I thought Mr. Freeze and Clayface look really cool. I don't know. I have just weird feelings about this game. Like any of the combat trailers I've seen just doesn't make it seem fluid like the other Batman games. So I don't know. Hopefully the game's good. I thought one of the best trailers at the show was Where Winds Meet, an action game, sword fighting and stuff. I thought that trailer was really good. Let's see. Lies of P. A lot of people love this game. You know, it's got that Bloodborne aesthetic. A lot of people picked it as their game of the show. And you got to play it, right? They had a demo on the show floor. It's coming to Game Pass on day 1 in 2023. What'd you think of Liza P. coming from a person that didn't finish Elden Ring? Jez is muted. So I'll move on. I'll finish this off.
Muted. Sorry about that.
You were muted. I was saying,
yeah,
Liza P. You got to play it. What do you think?
I did.
As someone who didn't finish Elden Ring, what do you think?
Well, it's nothing like Elden Ring, first and foremost. It's very much more like Dark Souls, which I did complete. Thank you very much.
Okay.
It's not an open world game. It feels authentically Dark Souls. It really does. Like you've got the back attacks with the invincibility frames. You've got dodge rolls and sort of side steps, which I don't. Does Dark Souls have side steps? It doesn't, does it? It's just dodge rolls, isn't it? But it had a lot of the sort of like mechanics and gameplay that you expect from Dark Souls. I felt like just started coming through naturally as I was playing Lies of P. You know, I was like doing the plunging attacks and all that kind of stuff, just like strafing around enemies to hit them in the back. It felt really satisfyingly Dark Souls. There was like bonfires, enemies respawning when you die, and I died a lot. It was hard, Rand. It was more than hard. It was utterly brutal. It was kind of like like the first time you go for like the Undead Burg or whatever, and you haven't put any stats into anything, and but like even then, you can't like. I was trying to like run, like I died a few times trying to go through it, and I went back and got my souls, which it's called Ergo in Lies of P, the souls, and I don't know what they're for, but they're obviously tied to the narrative some way. And Lies of P is another game that I haven't really been on my radar that much until I played it, and until it was hitting Game Pass. I was like, whoa, okay, now I'm really interested in this game. But like, I died a few times, and I was coming to the end of the demo because I only got about 5 to 10 minutes with the game. I was like, I'm going to try and run through it, like in Dark Souls, where you can run through the level to get to the boss and stuff like that. But I tried running through the level, but it's really hard to bypass all the enemies. Like it felt like even harder than Dark Souls Remastered to me. Like the enemies are absolutely brutal and unrelenting. They have guns, like flintlock pistols and stuff because it's set in sort of like medieval kind of times, steampunky kind of vibe. I have no idea what the narrative is, but everyone is turned into a puppet. But like everyone is a psychotic Pinocchio kind of thing of various shapes and sizes. Some of them have guns, some of them have knives, some of them have like huge swords and all kinds of improvised weapons, like baseball bats with nails in them and stuff like that. All sorts of crazy stuff. And it's even got like Dark Souls skeletons throwing Molotov cocktails at you, as you're trying to get through an area. Like, but there's also like really cool sort of special abilities, and I can't remember what they called them. I think it was like the Fable meter, and it's sort of like I don't know how to describe it. You get like 3 resource bars underneath your stamina, and like on your left arm you have a prosthetic because you seem to be organic, but like you do have a sort of prosthetic which you can swap out different weapons. The weapon I was using was like a sort of scorpion style grappling hook, get over here kind of thing.
That
right?
kind of sounds a lot like Sekiro. You had that prosthetic
Yeah,
arm in
yeah,
Sekiro,
yeah. So it's similar to that, and you could like you could pull yourself to the enemy, and then if you had enough Fable meter, you could pull off some like crazy backflipping plunging attack. Because I was using a heavy weapon, which I shouldn't have done, because like using a heavy weapon was really difficult. You kind of have to like know the animations pretty well to land hits with it. I was thinking maybe I should have gone with a faster weapon on my first playthrough, but whatever. And you could do these crazy plunging attacks which like one shot most enemies and could do stagger damage to like heavier enemies. But yeah, it honestly felt authentic Dark Souls to me. So I think like Dark Souls fans will enjoy it a lot. And it's sort of the fact that it feels like Dark Souls also includes how Dark Souls feels a little bit dated by today's standards. Like if Elden Ring and like Sekiro feel a lot more fluid and sort of modernized, Lies of P really reminded me of Dark Souls in the sense that it was also a little bit clunkier and a little bit rougher around the edges. Maybe that's something that can improve between now and launch, but it was not as fluid as Elden Ring, for example. Like if I was trying to like run towards the screen, for example, it was kind of like it just wasn't as fast or fluid as Elden Ring.
Yeah.
But like as Elden Ring's sort of been a bit more refined, it's kind of slow and plodding like Dark Souls was. But I haven't played Bloodborne and I've barely played Sekiro, so it's kind of hard to make comparisons to those games, but I really enjoyed it. And like the level layouts were really cool. Like, you could drop ladders like in Dark Souls to make shortcuts and stuff like that as you progress through a level. It felt like it wasn't sort of like as I don't know. I felt like Elden Ring was quite forgiving with the bonfires. Is that fair to say? Like you got a lot of bonfires.
Oh, Elden Ring was
right?
there was bonfires literally everywhere in that game. Yeah.
Yeah, it felt a little bit closer to Dark Souls in that point, because I only found one bonfire in the whole demo. And I was like, God, I really desperately need a bonfire at this point because I only had like 2 Estus flasks or whatever they call them in that game. I'm just gonna call them Estus flasks. But like all those mechanics from Dark Souls is in this game. So like, if you're into Dark Souls, you will like Lies of P. If you don't like Dark Souls, you won't like Lies of P.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically the truth about the matter.
Yeah. Another trailer that kind of stood out to me because I was like, they're actually doing this is Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the game. I
did not see that. I saw screenshots and Miles was pretty up about it being the horror
Yeah,
movies.
I mean, like, 80s horror movies, right? It seems like they did find the Friday the 13th, right? And Evil Dead, and, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is coming out as a game, and now here's Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's like, wow, okay. It's like, fair enough. That's cool. The sequel to Lords of the Fallen, Isn't it a reboot? I don't know. I don't know if it's a reboot or not, but
I think they're calling it like a soft reboot,
maybe.
like or something.
I mean, the trailer was cool. What else? Oh, Moonbreaker. Not in a good way because started off with Brandon Sanderson introducing Moonbreaker. Because my boy, Brando Sando, the writer who's created Mistborn series, the Cosmere in general, which is all of his books are tied into this universe, Stormlight Archive, and the guy that finished off Wheel of Time, was writing a game, helping out. And I was like, oh, dude, yes. And then it's from the people who made Subnautica, and it's like a tabletop RPG, and I'm just like, no. It's like,
dude, it's even worse than that.
What?
The rumor is that the little tabletop figurines in that game are NFTs.
No. Really?
Yes. Because you can... So, like, this game, what is it called? Moonbreaker?
Moonbreaker.
So, Moonbreaker. Like, I thought it looked really cool because, I like those kind of games. I like the tabletop strategy games. I even like miniatures. My brother paints miniatures, and I don't have steady hands enough to do it. But they're so cool, like Warhammer and stuff. I wish I could get into it, but I'm just... too much. But I thought, wow, this could be a miniatures game for me, because I thought it looked really good. But then, like in the game, you can paint the miniatures and stuff, right? With like virtual paints and shit like that. But apparently, the rumor is that those miniatures are NFTs, and they decline to comment on whether or not they're NFTs or something like that. And like there's references to NFT technology on their website, and they were like, "Oh, we're always exploring different types of technology." It's like they don't want to admit that they're NFTs. And you know what? I actually intended to ask them because the Crafton's publishing it, who also publish Callisto Protocol, and they're in the same booth. So I was like, "Oh, I can find out for final once for all if it actually is NFTs." And I forgot. I'm so professional. I was right there, and I could have asked them because I want to like that game, but not if it's NFTs.
Yeah,
don't know for sure if it is.
And the worst announcement: Pokemon car.
Oh my God, Rand! I went to see the Pokemon car.
You did? You saw the Pokemon car?
I did. I'll actually post. I'll post a screenshot. I'll post a picture on Twitter of the Pokemon car. Actually, I went to see it. Because I couldn't believe it. It looks terrible. Like in real life, it looks like a toy. It looks horrible. I don't get it. I have no idea why they did this. Literally no idea. What was weird was the amount of cars at Gamescom this year. Ford had a booth. Ford, had loads of cars on display. And then Mini had its booth with its Pokemon car. It's so random. But yeah, that's the Pokemon car. I guess you're not interested in that, right?
I mean, yeah, I'm definitely not. I mean, I would total that car, dude, if I got it.
Dude, it's not even good. It's literally just a Mini with some Pikachu stickers on it. It's not even good. It's like the laziest attempt at making a Pokemon car ever. It's horrible. I am actually upset about this. It's so strange. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah. So do you have anything else you want to talk about with Gamescom? Anything you saw that you Lies of P, Callisto Protocol you talked about, the High and Life stuff. You did mention that like you were uncertain about Minecraft Legends, and then you saw Minecraft Legends, and now it rocketed up your anticipated list. I know you said that. Yeah.
Because it's a true... I won't go into too much detail about the rest of it, because otherwise we're going to be here all night. And I am going to write up a lot of these on Windows Central next week, starting with Minecraft Legends. But Minecraft Legends is a true strategy game. I think that's the bit that I didn't really get. I was kind of like, well, if this is an action game, they've already got Minecraft Dungeons. But really, the character you play as in Minecraft Legends is more like an interactive cursor, kind of. It's kind of like you can like it is a strategy game through and through, and like you can command armies of like dozens and dozens and dozens of units. So like it's kind of like you play Brutal Legend, right?
Yeah, I played Brutal Legend.
You know, Brutal Legend had that strategy mini game that wasn't very good.
Uh,
Do you remember it?
oh yeah. Like where you had the stages on both ends, like that the RTS
Yeah,
stuff.
and you had like 5 units following you around, something like that. Well, it really reminded me of that, but actually good, because it was kind of like, okay, I'm this dude. I can run around and slash things and fight things, but the only way I can win and defeat these enemy bases, which are sort of dotted around this procedurally generated landscape, is to build up a massive army. And not only build up an army, but also build up spawners and towers and defend those towers. And, you know, have like this huge zerg of villagers follow me around with pitchforks and stuff like that. It looked really fun. It looked like Overlord. It looked like Brutal Legends sort of RTS layer. I thought it looked awesome. I love strategy games. And yeah, I'm going to write that preview up next week. So check it out on Windows Central. Stephen wants me to also talk about hands-on with Pentiment. Pentiment was also surprisingly awesome.
Yeah,
Like I was
you
kind of
told me that I would love it. That it's right up my alley.
yeah, it's LA Noir, but side-scrolling and medieval.
Mm.
Like so, I don't know if this was in any of the trailers, but for my demo, I played. I did an autopsy of a murder victim. So, like in this quest, my friend was caught with a knife standing over a dead body of a monk in medieval Bavaria, and I don't believe that he was the killer. So I have to prove that he wasn't the killer, and his friend also thinks he wasn't the killer. So we go and do this autopsy on the corpse, and immediately I'm thinking, oh my god, this is side-scrolling LA Noir. So I'm there doing this autopsy on the dude, and it's sort of like it's giving you like these drawings. Like obviously LA Noir, you did these like 3D interactive autopsies, right? If you remember, and you sort of examine
Yes.
the body. It
Yeah.
was like that, but instead it was sort of like sketching a drawing, like because the whole game is like a book. It's like when the loading screens like turning a page. It's so cool and artistic, and like the speech bubbles, like it's coming up on the screen like calligraphy, and like you can hear the ink scratching. And this was a really nice touch. While the text bubbles are writing themselves, sometimes they make little mistakes and they rub the text out and draw it back in. And I thought, oh my god, that's a really nice touch. It's really immersive and unique and creative. And what really sucked me in was the writing. Like it was. I was going to say BioWare then, but it's classic Obsidian. You know, funny but also intriguing, but sort of dark, but also light-hearted at the same time. It's like it's just that Obsidian style, right? That Josh Sawyer style. And immediately I got sucked in and forgot I was doing a demo and stopped making any notes, which is a sign for me of a good demo. So I went from being like Pentiment looks kind of cool to actually being like, okay, now this is one of my most anticipated games because it was so interesting, and I loved LA Noire.
Obsidian being maybe the best Xbox studio out there putting out content,
I
man.
think I think Obsidian probably is the best Xbox studio right now. I really do think that.
And hopefully we get to see Avowed soon. So
Hell yeah.
moving on from Gamescom, we got a little talk about Phil's interview here he gave with Bloomberg. We kind of talked a little bit earlier about it, but he talked a little bit about the Activision Blizzard thing. He said, making good progress and that he feels good about it, positive about it, which came like the day before supposedly the UK is going to take a longer look at it or an extra look at it, I think is what they were saying.
Yeah.
I know people are still like hoping it's going to get done this year. I'm still saying next year. I think the EU is going to drag their feet on this one and take a while.
Yeah, maybe. Like the EU's got a lot of problems right now. But obviously, the people who are dealing with this aren't necessarily the people dealing with that other problem. But I think it will get through. I think it'll just be sluggish and laborious. And I've heard from people who are working on the deal that it's like the most paperwork they've ever seen in their life. Because this is like hundreds of thousands of employees, right? They said literal mountains of paperwork. So shout out to the Xbox's mergers and acquisitions thing, because they are putting in some serious work right now on that deal.
They definitely are. He also talked about more kind of acquisitions, but like kind of talked about how he feels that they maybe have too many or they're of like studios in their traditional markets, which they got a lot of UK studios, a lot of studios in the US, and he talked about, they kind of the article basically kind of said like looking in areas they're not strong in. And immediately to me that's like Japan, which Phil's always talked about his desire to have a Japanese presence in studio, right? So it's like Sega, Capcom, Bandai Namco, Square Enix. But then, I think he also even mentioned, because in the video he taught, I want to say it was in the video, or maybe it was, I forget where, but like, he thinks like the next big game might come from an area that, like in India or in Africa, the ones that really are kind of just starting out, right? And that where maybe the investment is. Yeah, I think that was in the video. So what do you think about that? About like kind of like we have enough in our traditional markets and we kind of want to expand into areas where we're, that aren't our traditional markets. What does that sound like to you?
I mean, it sounds like a global strategy, doesn't it?
Does.
We often hear about Xbox wanting to expand to Japan and stuff like that. But I think he's completely right that like there's a lot of studios and a lot of creativity out there that is completely untapped, And the fact of the matter is there's probably people in like Africa and other countries that don't have access to any of the tools they need to make games, who could make the next Fortnite, who could make the next PUBG, And like Lies of P, for example, Lies of P came out of came out of nowhere. It's from like a brand new Korean dev, and Lies of P is like it's gonna be up there with Dark Souls, I think, in terms of quality. I really do think that. The original at least, but maybe more so than Dark Souls 2. But anyway, I digress. So I think he's completely right, and I think like it's really important that Microsoft does expand to developers in those regions, because ultimately it's like the games that will appeal locally are the games that are made locally. I sort of like I dropped off Ubisoft games so hard, but I still played Watch Dogs Legion because I was kind of like, man, I really want to see how they do London and British humor and all this stuff. They didn't do it that well, like the writing at least. But London was amazing in Watch Dogs Legion, like going around and being like, oh my god, I know that street. It's crazy how cool it was actually. But like you talked about, we joked about ages ago, like how they could do Fallout in Chicago or something like that. Like obviously Fallout Chicago would be really popular in Chicago, probably, or if they did Fallout in London or something like that, it'd be really popular in London. So if Xbox's plan is to expand into the Middle East, into India and Africa and stuff like that, having games that are designed to appeal to those audiences makes complete sense. And it's kind of like the Netflix strategy too. Netflix has studios all over the world and they make unique content for those different markets. There's stuff on German Netflix, for example, which is German made and isn't available in English. Or like has an English dub. Like, oh man, what's that one? Is it Dark? I think it's called, or something like that.
The Netflix show Dark?
Yeah, that's German, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
So, yeah, I started watching it, but I didn't get that far in. But because my attention span, Rand, my attention span. I think we got like 3 episodes in before I dropped off. But it seemed pretty good.
So you don't finish TV shows like you don't finish your games. Gotcha.
I know.
What a burn! What a burn!
Yeah, what a burn. I finish games if I'm reviewing them. Maybe I should just force myself to review the games that I actually need to finish. Ugh, I don't know.
Hey, George has an interesting question. He's like, "Did you talk to Josh Sawyer because you leaked his game? Did he say anything to you about it?"
No, you know, I'm like a little bit paranoid because like when I came into the room to play Pentiment, all the developers left.
Really?
Yeah, so I want to hope that it's because they were going on a break or something, but maybe they just hate
So
me.
wait, you walked in, the developers saw you come in here, and is like, "Here's this piece of garbage that leaked our game," and they all just left?
Well, they left before I came in, so maybe they like knew it was my session or something. I want to believe that they probably don't care and they don't even know who I am, probably, but maybe they don't. Maybe they just hate me now. But it'd be fair. It'd be fair enough, you know.
Yeah.
I am that leaky asshole, and you did tell me not to do it.
I did tell you not to.
Well, why didn't you force me not to do it?
You're your own you're man, buddy. You know, I tell you to be cautious about these things.
Well, it's my job, Rand. It's my job. I got to put meat on the table, you know, for my starving family. I'm not like Jim Ryan. I can't just jack up the prices of the podcast to make a bit of money, you know.
Nomad says, I know you talked about it earlier, but I think you were slightly joking. Do you honestly think there's anything to the Homosonic video? I think that is just a mistake. I just can't believe that, you know, they leaked a Sega acquisition. And you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like...
What if it's a shelf situation?
I don't know. I just feel there. I think there's nothing to it. I think it's just, you know, just a mistake.
But Rand, what if?
I don't know. But come on, bro. Come on.
What if, man? What if, man?
What if? I think there's nothing to it, Nomad. But who knows? What was I talking? So yeah. So but the thing that kind of got the internet, of course, all up in arms was basically Phil saying that he expects there to be less and less platform-exclusive games in the future. And it's weird because everybody had their own like spin on this. Like IGN spun it one way, VGC spun it one way. All these outlets were like spinning it all these different ways, and they combined it with this quotes where Phil said, maybe you happen in your household to buy an Xbox and I buy a PlayStation and our kids want to play together and they can't because we bought the wrong piece of plastic to put in our television. We really love to be able to bring more players in, reducing friction, making people feel safe, secure when they're playing, allowing them to find their friends, play with their friends regardless of what device. I think in the long run that is good for this industry. And maybe in the short run there's some people in some companies that don't love it, but I think as we get over the hump and see where the industry can continue to grow, it proves that to be true. So they have this quote about Phil expecting there to be less and less platform-exclusive games in the future. Like VGC's subheadline is, Microsoft's gaming chief thinks products being multi-platform is better for the industry, right? Which has a certain, like, slant to it. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
IGN had a picture where, let me get it because my buddy sent it to me. IGN had a picture. Let me find it. Oh, geez, how far down is the DM here? So they had a picture, a tweet where it says, the picture says Xbox boss says there'll be less and less console exclusives as time goes, and it was a picture of Spider-Man and Master Chief. And then, you know, the tweet says, we really love to bring more players in, reducing friction. It makes it like sound that Phil's talking about PlayStation games on Xbox and Xbox games on PlayStation. And in fact, a lot of people kind of ran with it that way. That, oh, this is Phil telling people Xbox is going third party, right? All this sort of stuff. George says, did you see Kotaku's spin? I didn't see Kotaku's spin. But there's an interesting part because, you know, even the article that is being referenced by Bloomberg talked about less and less platform exclusives made for like a single device, which, Xbox has been going through that since 2016. You don't need an Xbox to play Xbox games, and PlayStation's about to go through that because they're putting all their things on PCs. So something like God of War Ragnarok it's exclusive now to one device, but in the future it will no longer be, right? So is really more talking about that. But that quote that we read out, if you actually watch this is why this whole article is kind of weird, because you missed the questions. She asked him why he's such a big proponent of cross-platform play. And he answered with, what if your kid bought an Xbox and a PlayStation, which is an exact answer I've heard Phil give in other interviews talking about crossplay before. So I knew he was talking about crossplay. But people that don't know, or people that didn't watch the written video, or people that want to push an agenda, they say he's talking about not having exclusives, and they use all these different things that were kind of quoted out of context to push things along. I don't know. What do you think about all this? I mean, it's just it's nothing new. Phil's been saying this for a long time now. It's just
you have to look, right. You have to look at Xbox's mentality when it comes to exclusives versus Sony's. Microsoft is publishing Minecraft Legends on PlayStation, and they'll continue publishing Call of Duty on PlayStation, right, after the fact. So it's like Microsoft's still going to keep publishing stuff on PlayStation, and they make a lot of money with PlayStation and for PlayStation with microtransactions on the Minecraft store, or DLC for Minecraft Dungeons and stuff like that. And I think like the argument is less about like, should exclusives completely go away? Or should we put games onto the platforms when it makes sense? Because I don't think you can really sort of expect your game to generate a significant amount of buzz if it's exclusive to one console, especially in this era, where you're competing for attention with so many other entertainment services. You're competing with mountains of service games. You're competing with all these streaming services and all this all-you-can-eat content. We basically live in a content buffet right now, where there's so many different ways to get access to all this kind of content from across every medium. And Sony thinks it can stick to the same old business model of our game, day one, on one console, and that'll work for them. We've already seen evidence that it doesn't work when Horizon completely slipped out of the conversation when Elden Ring dropped. Elden Ring was on every platform, and Horizon was on one platform, and it got completely drowned out by Elden Ring. Completely and utterly drowned out. And I know, because I've seen the traffic on major gaming websites as part of our network, which games people were searching for. And I tell you, it wasn't Horizon, But if Horizon had launched day one on PC, if it had launched day one into PlayStation Game Pass on PC, it would have had a lot more buzz about it. A lot more buzz. It would have had a lot more virality, because not everybody wants to play Elden Ring. Not everyone wants to, struggle through this game, which is quite demanding, at least to start with. Especially if you're not used to those kind of games, it can be quite demanding. And not a lot of people in the global grand scheme of things want to play that. Maybe they'd rather play a more casual game like Horizon, but they couldn't because they didn't have a PlayStation 5. Or was it on PlayStation 4?
It was on 4. And that's another thing we didn't even talk about with the Jam Dance Moves Ryan, with talking about it when they misled their audience by saying we believe in generations. And then
exactly.
Oh, we got. But either way, yeah, we know what you're talking about. Someone in chat says talk about his comments about NFTs.
Yeah, that was another thing they took him out of context on. Like I saw GameSpot I'm calling them out because the headline was terrible. They said Phil Spencer thinks there's potential for NFTs. He literally didn't say that. He was talking about blockchain technology, which doesn't necessarily mean NFTs, because you can use blockchain for all kinds of things, not necessarily an NFT, a non-fungible token. So Phil Spencer he basically just left the door open. I don't have the exact quote here, but he was talking specifically about blockchain technology.
The exact quote is, I think sometimes it's a hammer looking for a nail when these technologies come up, but the actual human use or player use in our case of these technologies, I think there could be some interesting things. But then earlier he said that play to earn specifically is something I'm cautious about. It creates a workforce out of players for certain players to kind of monetize. And then he talked about that's always sort of existed, and talked about World of Warcraft stuff.
Yeah.
But then he mentioned how they aren't allowing NFTs in Minecraft because they thought some of the stuff they're doing is exploitative. Yeah. So I guess it really just depends. The
problem is when you start factoring money into these systems, it's someone's getting exploited. It becomes you basically build a pyramid scheme into the game, which is horrible, really, and it sort of defeats the point of play. Now, at the end of the day, if an adult wants to participate in something like that, I think they should have the right to do so as an adult. I don't think NFTs should be banned. I don't think NFT games should be banned, because I believe in freedom of creativity, and markets can decide for themselves, generally speaking. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to sit there and be like, these are a good thing, because I don't think they are. I think they're an exploitative thing. And I think, especially if you look at that, oh man, what was it called now? That Xfinity game? I can't remember what it's called. Axfinity? Something like that? Axelfinity? I can't remember what it was called. But there was this like major NFT game on mobile and PC. It was kind of like Pokemon, but the Pokemon were NFTs, right? And you could trade them and battle them and stuff like that. And as you played the game and leveled them up, you also got access to these coins which were tied to the game. Now, for a while, during the boom, when Elon Musk's tweeting about Dogecoin and all that crap, people were actually making a living off this game, Axie Infinity, I think it's called. They're actually making a living from this, especially in I saw a documentary about it, where they spoke to a lot of people in Indonesia who were making a lot of US dollars off this game, Axie Infinity. But then the crunch happened, and then Bitcoin lost all of its value. And I think Axie Infinity was tied to Ethereum or Bitcoin or something like that. But most coins, I think all coins lost a lot of their value last summer. Or, well, this summer hasn't finished yet. But they lost a lot of their value. Massive crash, China regulation, crackdown, and then obviously all this stuff. The price of energy went up, which meant that it was less profitable to even mine this stuff. So, all these factors kind of screwed up the value of crypto, which for people who sort of base their entire life around this game, they suddenly lost all their money. And also, Don Sicario mentioned the important point that I forgot. The game also got hacked. Their exchange got hacked. And all of the money, millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, I believe. It was the biggest theft in history in terms of monetary value. It was suddenly gone, And how do you sort of who do you punish for that? And all these people who would basically they didn't play the game because it was fun. They played it because of the strength of the US dollar. They could actually make a living from this in their country. And I think that's devastating, because it screws with people's lives, And I think that's why Phil is rightfully cautious about it, and rightfully doesn't want to tie it up to a game like Minecraft, which is played by so many kids. The worst thing about this Axie Infinity thing is it looks like a kid's game, man. it's all cutie and little cat people and little cat things and chibi and colorful. It's like it wants to exploit children, you know? And I think that is where you draw the line. You know, if it's adults, whatever. The adults can make their own dumb mistakes. But I think when you tie in these kind of mechanics up to games that are focused at kids, that's when it gets messed up. And that's when I think you need some sort of regulation. And luckily, the industry generally seems to be self-regulating right now. But I also think Phil, as a CEO of Microsoft Gaming, has a responsibility to keep an eye on this technology and sort of figure out if it actually will become a thing in a non-exploitative way. So I think his answer was very diplomatic, which is unfortunately spun by some outlets for the clickbait on the Phil thinks NFTs are okay, which is literally not what he said.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Oh man, conspiracy theorist Everborn Saga with the super chat says, okay, but what if though? Hashtag home of Sonic. Happy birthday, Rand. Thanks, Everborn.
Hashtag what?
Hashtag home of Sonic.
Oh, home of Sonic.
Yeah, like I said, what if it just is? What if it just is? Oh my. $100
wow.
super chat from Crazy Lou Gaming. Wow, thank you, buddy. He says, happy birthday, Randall Thor from the team of Xbox International. Hope Jez put your name for the back order of the cool Pokemon Mini Cooper. Just messing. Have a great day, brother. Thank you. Thank you for the support, man. The Xbox International podcast with Crazy Lou Gaming. I was on there maybe like a month ago, a couple months ago. Good group of guys. Yeah, and I guess the last topic here. I mean, we're at what, 3 hours and 30 minutes or something right now?
Yeah, my girlfriend is not happy with me.
I can imagine. Well, I mean, this is kind of just, yeah. EA and Amazon. I guess this be a quick, because what was it, yesterday?
Yes.
It was woke up. USA Today reporting from some Swedish GR something. What was it, Jez?
GLHF. Good luck, have fun.
Yeah,
it stands for.
That basically Amazon was going to make a bid for EA that day, and of course the market reacted, went up 15%. A lot of people made a lot of money, and then lost a lot of money, or just, I don't know, made money, lost money. And then it came out, CNBC kind of was like, this ain't happening, and they made fun of the outlet. And then USA Today had to come out and basically threw them under the bus, and people were attacking the author. What the hell happened, Jez?
Okay, so yeah, Good Luck Have Fun is it's a company that they help mainstream media outlets up-level their gaming coverage. So companies like USA Today or the BBC or Daily Mail and whatever, they try and cover gaming, but they never really get it. Those really cringe CNN articles which are talking about shooters, and they don't really get it. GLHF, or Good Luck Have Fun, they kind of they come in and they sort of provide some of that expertise, because they're, the people who write for them are actually gamers. And the author of this particular article is an awesome guy, and he's a friend of mine. At least I consider him a friend. Maybe he thinks I'm a dick. I don't know. But I think he's a cool guy. And he used to write for VG 24/7, and he's been around the industry for a while. He'd gotten some separate sourcing, and did his due diligence on this rumor that Amazon was going to put a bid in for EA. And to be fair, everyone believed it. That's why the markets went up, because it makes sense, frankly. It makes a lot of sense, I believed it hook, line, and sinker, because I'm honestly just waiting for the next one to happen. I was told ages ago that Take-Two was shopping itself around. I was told ages ago that Bungie was shopping itself around, even though they denied it. And then a few weeks later, Sony bought them.
That wasn't a few weeks later. That was a few years later. A couple years later.
A few years.
No. Because no, the timeline of that was we had heard Xbox was in talks with Bungie, but that was before Xbox bought Bethesda. That was in 2019.
Nah, dude. Nah.
Yeah, go back. Yeah,
Nah.
go back.
I heard after that.
Well, sure.
And I'm sure we talked about it on the show.
We have.
And then a few months later. Nah, because this was the second wave of rumors. Someone else had reported that they were shopping themselves around, and then Bungie denied it.
Bungie's been shopping themselves around for they've been shopping themselves around for a while. EA's been shopping themselves out for a while. I mean, like the article, like they almost merged with NBC or whatever it was. So yeah, it's just, you know, go ahead, continue. Go ahead.
Well, anyway, they wrote an article reporting that Amazon was going to put in a bid for EA, and it was going to be announced that day. Millions of dollars were traded, and then it turned out not to be true. All that, like CNBC came out and reported that they'd heard that it wasn't being announced today or something, and not necessarily that it couldn't be happening in the future or that it isn't in the pipeline. But at the moment, it looks like it's probably not happening. I don't think EA did put out a statement, didn't they? I don't think Amazon did, but EA did, right?
I think EA put out a statement saying they don't comment on rumors and speculation regarding mergers and acquisitions. Yeah.
So, but they also sort of added a jab in there, didn't they?
Well, no.
Didn't they?
The thing I sent you was that was last month at their.
Oh right, okay.
At their conference call when they said
so,
that.
I'm a little bit out of the loop because I've been at Gamescom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this all happened while I'm also like scrambling for. Didn't this all happen on the same day while I was scrambling for a comment from Microsoft about? Or was that the following day?
This was yesterday. This was it was Friday because I was like, oh man, if this is happening, I was like, oh my god, we're gonna have a lot to talk about.
Dude, I just don't even know where I'm going right now. But dude, it was crazy, and then it all turned out not to be true, and then the day sort of went on, and it's looked less and less likely it was going to happen, and then it didn't happen. But. That doesn't mean it won't happen in the future, because I think EA is going to sell, just like Activision sold eventually. I think a lot of these big publishers are kind of struggling to figure out how to sort of behave in today's video game market. Mobile is getting bigger and bigger and showing no signs of stopping. And a lot of these studios, they are set up to make money on console, which isn't growing right now, really. It's sort of a static install base of about 300 million people across the three install bases. PC's not really growing either that much. It's all about mobile. A lot of these devs and a lot of these studios, they're just not mobile oriented. And then EA does have its mobile division, and Activision does, and all these studios, blah, 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 blah. But it's kind of like there's a lot of upheaval and turmoil whenever there's like economic trouble. A lot of big publicly traded companies, they start looking outside their ideology and start thinking like, well, how can we trim the fat here? How can we go where the money is and stuff like that? But some of them are just rather just exit, and provide a return for their shareholders, because that's ultimately what publicly traded companies are for at the end of the day, providing a return for their shareholders. And so it made a lot of sense that EA would sell it to Activision. I mean, Amazon. Amazon needs games for its Luna operation if it really is serious about it. And clearly Amazon is serious about this streaming stuff, because they spent like $1 billion on one TV show for Amazon Prime. Mm-hmm. But clearly they are fairly.
It would also give it the EA IPs. You could do a Dead Space show, Mass Effect show, right?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of good crossover there, and Amazon does have some core gaming DNA in their teams. Like Albert Pinello from Xbox works at Amazon right now. and stuff like that. And Amazon has been poaching people from PlayStation and Xbox to shore up its Amazon Luna game streaming division. If they are serious about Amazon Luna, then they need content because their homegrown content isn't that great. You know, we got Lost Ark, which is okay, but it only blew up because of Twitch, and then it dropped off, you know, like a brick when people got to Endgame. And that other game that I can't even remember the name of. What's that other MMO they made that blew up just because of Twitch and then disappeared overnight?
New World.
I can't remember.
New World.
New World. New World. Yeah. New World. The World of Warcraft killer. Another World of Warcraft killer, which flopped as soon as those contracts for Twitch stopped coming in. Right. So you know, it's kind of like it made a lot of sense, and I think it could still happen. But I feel terrible for the writer of that story. Because I constantly think like, man, what if I get something wrong like that at some point? Because it could happen. And I was thinking like about there's loads of game journalists who were throwing shade on this guy, and I'm just thinking like, what if you fuck up like that at some point? What if, you know, you're tempting fate by being dicks about this, you know? And as if like, you know, nobody in this business has ever made a mistake. I don't know why game journalists do that. Like attack their own. That's why I'm glad I'm a tech journalist. I'm a tech.
You're an influencer, Jez.
Yeah, I'm a blogger. I'm a tech blogger. I don't like that whole game journalist thing. They scammed the crap out of me. But oh well. And Georgie just mentioned something which was interesting. He said Amazon might stop streaming if the new Lord of the Rings show flops. And I actually read that analysis too. There was some analysis that said like insider sources at Amazon suggest that if Lord of the Rings is a failure, Amazon Prime's going to get cutbacks on its TV operations or something, because like they've spent $1 billion on this Lord of the Rings show, and there's not a lot of hype for it really right now. I don't know. What are you gonna watch that show?
Yeah, I'm gonna
see
watch
a little
it.
bit, but there was some social media analysis, trending analysis stuff, and it was like Lord of the Rings wasn't even in the top 10 or something. Like all the buzz is around that House of the Dragon or whatever, that Game of Thrones thing. It's really funny because all of the analysis is like HBO Max, HBO Max, HBO Max, HBO Max, and then Netflix, and then HBO Max, and it was like HBO Max seems to be doing so well, and then why is Warner Brothers Discovery like cutting it with like an axe? I don't get businesses, man. Maybe there's just too much competition right now. Maybe there's like, here's my armchair analysis, Rand. During the pandemic era, content platforms got an inflated sense of how much people were willing to consume. And now that we've fallen out of the pandemic era, there's not enough time in the day to watch all these shows and play all these games and do all this stuff. And now all these companies that were like, oh my god, this is it. You know, this gravy train pandemic thing is gonna last forever, and everyone's gonna work from home forever and slack off watching Netflix all day. And now everyone's going back to the office. Oh dear, we've lost 1 million subscribers. Oh dear, no one watched our shit. Oh dear, no, our mobile games haven't got as much, you know, monthly active users. And like shareholders don't care about this shit. They just think like, hey, we want perpetual growth every year. We don't care about the pandemic boom. Like Windows Central, we doubled our traffic during the pandemic. We doubled it. You know, a lot of websites did, because everyone was stuck at home. You know, everyone was stuck at home consuming content. You know, and now that boom period's over. You know, and I think a lot of companies are sort of, they inflated themselves and now they've got to deflate themselves a little bit. And I don't know where we even got off on this tangent. Or
I don't know, but it's getting late. And I think that's probably a good area to end the show. But we'll take a couple questions, just a couple, because Jez's girlfriend is giving Jez the side eye because it's going on for a while. So thank you guys so much for being here on Saturday. Thank you for all the support. You know, Heartgeet and Crazy Lou with the insane super chats. Everybody who supporting the channel. Everybody who's chatting, all the lurkers out there, you're greatly appreciated. Thank you all for the birthday wishes. It's hard to, mention each individual one, but it means a lot to me because even my family, the only person in my family who actually... Now, keep in mind, I have a brother, 2 sisters, a mom and a dad, and the only one who's wished me happy birthday today is my dad. So...
Wow.
Both my sisters and my dad have yet to wish me a happy birthday. So
wow,
yeah,
I suck. Give me their numbers, man. I'm gonna troll them. They are cancelled, boy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna cancel those bitches. But I'm gonna insert an ad break here, maybe. Yeah, let's do that. Beep.
So let's see. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Sonic Chief says, do you think Phil did that interview to help the deal in any way? Just seems interesting. It was done right around when the ABK deal got its first approval. What do you think? You think it means something more, or just kind of just a random interview?
Man, I don't know. I've been begging Xbox PR for a Phil interview for 8 years. They won't give me one. Maybe it's because they know I'm terrible at interviewing people. And really, I won't even like... Georgie said you ruined the mood with your depressing happy birthday story.
I'm just saying. It's all granted, it's only 6 o'clock, so there's still plenty of time left, but,
But dude, you're like 41 now. It's like people don't even know what age you are anymore. It's that, like, I sometimes forget, am I 35 or am I 36 or am I 34? I guess I don't know, but maybe I don't know what mechanics that they base their interview opportunities on. Like, maybe they just like do them every now and then, so it stays in people's minds and stuff like that. Like, it's hardly a strategic thing because Phil's very frank and honest. Which is like, if you want to manipulate to get an outcome, that's not necessarily what you would do. You'd probably just keep your mouth shut. I don't know. But I have no idea why they do these things. I don't work in PR. Don't you have a degree in PR, Rand?
Yeah, I wish. Zatanna says happy birthday. Right? Thank you for all the happy birthday wishes. But I said we took a couple questions, so let's see. Let's get another question. Quickly, because I gotta go do something because it's getting late for me here too. Like, I'm also getting tired because we've been doing this for 4 hours. George says thoughts and expectations on TGS. Jez mentioned that Microsoft has a sizable delegation on previous episode. Xbox also crossed 300,000 sales. I don't have any expectations for Tokyo Game Show, so I don't know if Jez is different.
I think Microsoft's gonna sort of, because you gotta remember that like the Japanese audience, or like frankly any audience, doesn't necessarily see everything that we see in the West, in the English Anglo-centric audience. They don't necessarily see all the same stuff. So Microsoft will probably reiterate and present a lot of stuff we've already seen, repackaged for Japanese audience. So I wouldn't expect any major announcements for TGS, but it's more like an attempt to show that Microsoft's serious about it and they respect the gamers there and they want to do better. And it's that kind of stuff, right? They'll show that they got Soul Hackers and they got Persona and that they're supporting Japanese development and they're beefing up their operations there and that kind of thing. So I think it's going to be more in that context, but we'll have to wait and see.
Papa Hefe says, happy birthday, big homie. Keep up the great work. Thank you. And Yosemite Blam says, happy birthday, Rand. Get some pizza and enjoy your day. Thank you guys so much. And with that, we are going to end the show. I got to go and do something really quickly. Jez's girlfriend is mad at him. And we'll be back next week on Friday with more stuff to talk about. So thank you guys so much. Keep it gaming. Thanks, everybody. And have a great weekend. Later.
Bye.